Therefore, after Han Fei understood what the other party meant, his heart turned cold. Puff. 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 In the next moment, the 10 vines pierced through this ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator level. However, Han Fei couldn't be happy at all, because all of this was still part of their plan. At this moment, the ominous bodies of the ominous and Hong Jun had already reacted. The two of them blocked Han Fei's way in unison. They knew Han Fei's intentions very well. Remove the ominous matter around Shenlu so that she could continue to fight. However, it was a beautiful idea. But they couldn't let Han Fei realize it. Boom, boom, boom. Raging flames suddenly rose from the surface of the bodies of the two ominous ominous creatures at the same time, burning fiercely, but it was not dazzling. There were only black smoke twisting in the void. As the two of them attacked, wherever they attacked, the void would collapse, causing this world to wail, tremble, and twist. Han Fei counterattacked angrily. On the calabash, great Dao runes kept overflowing, turning into broadswords that slashed out. Unfortunately, even though Han Fei used all his combat power, his calabash body was still retreating and staggering like a tumbler. The divine vine lashed out, breaking the law and evil, but it was grabbed by the real ominous and crushed a part of it on the spot. If it weren't for the effect of the invincible body, this part would have been contaminated by the ominous substance. The two sides were fighting fiercely in the air, and Senior Brother Undead shouted in a low voice, "Time, guard Shenlu." Although he was not strong enough, Senior Brother Undead resolutely attacked. However, the black coffin was broken, and Senior Brother Undead hadn't reached the peak of the Dominator realm, so he was only slapped back billions of kilometers by Hongjuan's ominous body. Wherever he passed, the void collapsed. Immediately afterward, Hongjuan's ominous body said to one of his peak-level Dominator-level ominous subordinates, "Go and restrain the three of them." Tweet. Shenlu erupted, and her chi and blood surged, forcibly charging at the ominous matter. However, this thing couldn't be broken at any time with all her strength. No matter how anxious Shenlu was, it was useless. As for the Master of Time, he was not good at fighting in the first place. The power of the Time Temple was not in one-on-one battles, but in large-scale killing and guarding. Therefore, the only thing he could do was to set up the Time Sky Sealing Lock. He could revive ancient creatures, but even ancient creatures didn't have a peak-level Dominator among them, so it was useless whether he revived ancient creatures or not. In this situation, although Senior Brother Undead tried his best to fight the peak-level Dominator-level ominous, he couldn't enter Han Fei's battlefield. At this moment, Han Fei was forced to retreat step by step by the two ominous figures. Even his invincible body had dimmed. The invincible body was immune to both body and soul attacks and was not afraid of war. But when the power it carried exceeded its limit, it would be broken. If it was just one of them, Han Fei was confident that he could fight him without being defeated. However, at this moment, he felt helpless. The ominous said in a cold tone. Cracks appeared on Han Fei's calabash body, and the invincible body was already flashing, which meant that it couldn't hold on for long. Han Fei roared, "Even if I go, I'll take you two with me." Ha ha ha. Hongjuan's ominous body raised his hand and turned into an ominous sword. Embryo. Black light devoured people, and then he slashed at the crack on Han Fei's calabash body. He said, "Do you think you can really keep me in check without opening the passage between the two worlds? Now that things have come to this point, I'm Not afraid to tell you that the creation jade plate is not indestructible. You can't protect either the chaotic star sea or the primordial star sea. You can't kill me or the ominous. Clank. As the sword slashed at the calabash body, billions of cracks appeared in the surrounding void, like cracked glass. The ominous level attack was extremely sharp, almost pushing Han Fei to the edge of nowhere. Rumble. In the next moment, Han Fei turned into billions of lightning marks, outlined a boundless lightning net, and shouted, "I said that if you want to send me away, you'll have to come with me." Humph. With your own lightning technique, how long can you last? Two ominous creatures rolled up an ominous tide at the same time, spreading from the distant Star River. The lightning technique could purify the ominous mist, and the ominous mist could also destroy the lightning technique. In the darkness, lightning intertwined and purified. Han Fei recited in his heart, "It's been 5 seconds. In another 5 seconds, the demon purification pot will completely swallow the peak-level dominator ominous." However, at this moment, in the boundless ominous mist, the remaining two peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures burned at the same time. A blood-colored altar appeared under them, and endless great Dao runes surged out of their bodies. Those great Dao runes were weaving into chains for unknown purposes. They were probably for sealing Han Fei. At the same time, the ominous body of Bu Xiang and Hong Jun sprinkled out a large amount of ominous matter. Judging from its size, it was twice as big as those used on senior sister Shenlu. If they were contained in the small bottle he had seen before, there might be dozens of bottles. How rich! Although Han Fei didn't know how useful these ominous things were to ominous creatures, they were definitely extremely precious. After these two masses of ominous matter were thrown out, the demon purification pot was restrained, the invincible body was extremely unstable, and the two peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures were holding back their ultimate moves. Han Fei immediately knew that if he couldn't fight back, he would definitely be beaten into the path of no return. Han Fei shouted, "If you exile me, you will never be able to open the passage between the two worlds." Really? Hongjuan's ominous body sneered. The ominous can still descend into the chaotic star sea after being trapped by the world divine mirror for many eras. Why do you think it's like this? The world divine mirror? Han Fei thought of the 3 treasures that the mysterious woman used to seal the ominous, the demon purification pot, the creation jade plate, and a broken mirror. It turned out to be called the world divine mirror. However, he had no time to think about this now, because Hongjuan's ominous body's words made Han Fei realize that the ominous had a way to cross the seal of a treasure at the level of the demon purification pot. If he could cross the world divine mirror, he could cross the creation jade plate. In the past, Hongjuan's ominous body couldn't get this because the real ominous didn't want to give it to him. And now, the real ominous had no choice. If he couldn't take down the chaotic star sea this time, what awaited him was still endless war. However, with the help of Hongjuan's ominous body, although he could only obtain the chaotic star sea, it was better than endless war. Otherwise, if he completely descended into the chaotic star sea, and the myriad races thought of some way to deal with him, he might not even be able to obtain the chaotic star sea. Han Fei immediately understood that there must be something in the ominous hand or a certain method that could break the seal of the world divine mirror and the creation jade plate. But if that was the case, he couldn't leave even more If a high-level combatant like him left, what would happen to the sea realm? It was mainly Xia Xiaochan, Shiman Linglan, his parents, Zhang Xuanyu, and his senior brothers and sisters. If senior sister Shenlu was exiled at the same time as him, the myriad races in the chaotic star sea and the infinite ocean would really be doomed. Han Fei's calabash body trembled violently. Is this the ultimate battle? No, I'm unwilling to give up. I've worked hard to grow and dare not be negligent. It wasn't easy for me to stand at the top of the sea of stars, at the same level as the sky. How can I not even protect the people I want to protect? Roar. Do you really think I don't have any trump cards? Come on. Let's see if this ominous matter can corrode me. Buzz. The purple gold calabash that Han Fei transformed into suddenly became abnormally dazzling. The chaotic laws of the great Tao here were illuminated by this divine brilliance like a rain of light. Han Fei rushed into the ominous matter, which was completely beyond the expectations of the ominous and Han Jun. They didn't understand Han Fei's stupid behavior. Was he courting death? But in the next moment, the world trembled, and the light of the great Tao was dazzling. An overwhelming will resonated with the world. Explode. Ka ka ka. Countless cracks appeared on the purple gold calabash. Its source power surged with a terrifying momentum. This didn't seem to be a terrifying divine might that could be activated with 49 pieces of Star River source power. Yes, Han Fei's final trump card was to detonate the divine vine, but this was not to detonate himself. On the divine vine, he had already finished absorbing the 6 heritage fruit. He had also comprehended the Dallas realm. He had also obtained the infinite power contained in the 6 heritage fruit. Only the divine vine itself was left, which contained infinite power. Han Fei had planned to swallow it slowly and wait for it to completely absorb the power of the divine vine before breaking out of the cocoon. However, the other party didn't give him a chance. He knew that if he didn't break out of the cocoon now, he might really not have a chance. Seeing this, the real ominous expression changed drastically. He suddenly pounced forward, and something suddenly appeared in his hand, as if he was holding a broken arm. As soon as this arm appeared, the ominous mist in the world almost instantly faded a lot. In the next moment, it turned into a big hand that covered the river of stars and slapped at Han Fei heavily. Rumble. A violent explosion swept across the starry sky. Han Fei detonated the divine vine that had given birth to the 6 lineage fruit twice in a row, this supreme treasure that had produced the 6 lineages. At this moment, the law storm was whistling, billions of brilliance were flashing, the world was collapsing, the star rivers was shattering, and the peak-level dominator-level ominous creature sucked in by the demon purification pot was destroyed on the spot, dissipating with the ominous matter. More than 90% of the 2 masses of ominous matter had been crushed and purified by this shocking power. Even the ominous matter that enveloped Shenlu was purified by nearly 50%. Hongjuan's ominous body was shocked. This guy was even more difficult to deal with than Li Daoi and the others. Although he didn't expect to blow Han Fei into the path of no return so easily, he didn't expect to pay such a huge price, sacrificing a peak-level dominator-level ominous in exchange for one of Han Fei's trump cards. In the center of the terrifying explosion, a figure exuding monstrous chi and blood stood proudly in the air. He jumped up, covered in cracks, and didn't care. At this moment, Han Fei stared at the arm and the real ominous hand. If this was just an ominous ultimate move, Han Fei wouldn't have cared. However, he detonated the divine vine and unleashed such a terrifying divine might, but it was blocked. He was indignant. Yes, this explosion almost shattered this star river. Countless big stars exploded and turned into dust in the sea of stars. However, the altar formed by the two peak-level dominators was still there. The ominous bodies of the ominous and Hongjun weren't even shaken back much. All of this was thanks to the broken arm. This hand seemed to have been cut off by someone. It was unknown how many years had passed, but it was still filled with rich life power. At the cut, blood was still dripping. The appearance of the drop of blood shocked Han Fei. It was an ominous substance. As for the hand, it had been dripping with blood for a long time. It could be seen that the hand had the ability to regenerate and was still alive. Han Fei was shocked. What is this? This time, the real ominous said, you won't know what it is even if I tell you. This vast sea of stars limits your vision. Don't you know that on the ultimate path, there should be no concerns? Kill. In this violent storm of laws, in this collapsed star river, the two ominous ominous creatures attacked again, ruthless and domineering. Han Fei paid the price of the divine vine, but he was also seriously injured. At this moment, the law was chaotic. Even the law of life was very troublesome to guide. The two sides fought fiercely for dozens of seconds, but this time, the two ominous creatures didn't use that arm again. Obviously, although that thing was powerful, it probably cost a lot to use it once. However, as long as Han Fei could be sent to the path of no return, it was worth it. For a moment, Han Fei's blood splashed across the sea, and his body was almost torn apart. In particular, the death of a peak-level dominator-level ominous creature was exchanged for the suicide charge of more than 50 dominator-level ominous creatures. Yes, these dominator-level ominous creatures charged at Han Fei desperately, letting the demon purification pot penetrate them. They didn't even wait for the demon purification pot to penetrate them, but took the initiative to crash into the demon purification pot. Although Han Fei was strong and the demon purification pot could restrain the ominous, it couldn't resist the suicidal charge of two ominous level and so many dominator level powerhouses. Tweet. At this moment, a clear cry resounded throughout the world. Because Han Fei didn't hesitate to blow up the divine vine just now to purify part of the ominous matter that enveloped Senior Sister Shenlu. Senior Sister Shenlu finally broke through the shackles of the ominous matter. Little junior brother, hold on. Whoosh. Fiery flames burned the sky, and the collapsed Great Tao here was burning. Endless qi and blood burst out of Senior Sister Shenli's body. Wherever the blood and qi spread, killing intent was like fire, unstoppable. Hongjuan's ominous body snorted coldly. I'll leave Shenlu to you. The real ominous didn't say anything. Compared to Han Fei, he still felt that Shenlu was easier to beat. After all, Shenlu didn't master the law of life, the ridiculously strong art of invincibility, or a treasure like the demon purification pot. Of course, he also knew why Hongjuan's ominous body chose to face Han Fei in person. He was just afraid that he wouldn't give that thing to him. In fact, the ominous knew that if he could really exile Han Fei with his own hands, he would never give the thing to Hongjuan's ominous body. Therefore, even if Hongjuan's ominous body had to take the risk, he had to take action himself. The ominous took action personally and instantly faced Shenlu. As soon as the two collided, they fought their way out of the turbulent Star River. Senior sister Shenlu shouted with anger and dazzling qi and blood. She was confident that her killing Dao was unparalleled, but she didn't have Han Fei's great luck. Now that eldest senior brother had left, Shenlu knew very well that she couldn't leave all the burden to her little junior brother. More than 8,000 years ago, she watched her little junior brother fall in front of her eyes. More than 8,000 years later, she didn't want that scene to happen again. However, even though Shenlu tried his best, the ominous didn't take a step back. On Han Fei's side, because the real ominous had left, the pressure was greatly reduced. However, the two peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures that had been setting up a trap suddenly attacked. On the altar, under the two of them, billions of chains intertwined in the void, and they turned into nothingness. In the next moment, the heavenly Tao couldn't be absorbed, and black thunderclouds gathered. Han Fei's heart trembled. Is this the sky transformation? Han Fei was a little horrified. He never expected that these two ominous creatures at the peak of the dominator level would choose the sky transformation. It turned out that the ominous could also transform into the sky. In the next moment, Han Fei roared, not to mention whether you can succeed or not, even if these two people can transform into the heavenly Tao, can they definitely suppress me? However, Hongjuan's ominous body smiled contemptuously. I don't need to suppress you for long. As long as I can suppress you for 1 second, it's enough. At that moment, Han Fei was horrified. Endless heavenly Tao chains descended from the sky. Although he could dodge these heavenly Tao chains with his amazing footwork, he couldn't dodge this world. The two peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures dissipated at the same time, and Han Fei seemed to have instantly fallen into some quagmire. He was finally entangled by the heavenly Tao chains and couldn't move at all. Although senior sister Shenli's qi and blood had already spread over, they dissipated as soon as they touched this world. This was no longer fighting the ominous. At this moment, they were all fighting the world. In an instant, the situation almost collapsed. Han Fei was imprisoned and had no way out. At this moment, Hongjuan's ominous body shouted, "Ominous, give me the hand." And the ominous who was fighting senior sister Shenlu didn't hesitate at this moment. One of the two peak-level dominator-level ominous was his person, controlled by him, and controlled a large amount of ominous matter. Therefore, he wasn't afraid that Hongjuan's ominous body would go back on its word. If Hongjuan's ominous body really went back on its word, at such a close distance, he could also push Han Fei into the path of no return. Swish. The ominous threw the arm Han Fei saw just now to Hongjuan's ominous body. Seeing this, Han Fei's eyes almost popped out. Although he didn't know whose arm it was, he knew that this thing must not fall into the hands of Hongjuan's ominous body. Steal, steal, steal. He activated the void stealing technique one after another. However, as soon as he activated it, Han Fei suffered 3 backlashes in a row and vomited 3 mouthfuls of essence blood. Hongjuan's ominous body had already grabbed the arm and looked at Han Fei disdainfully. You overestimate yourself. You don't know what this is at all. Bang! In the next moment, the heavenly Tao formed by the two peak-level dominators finally took the last step and took the trapped Han Fei onto the path of no return. Roar! Han Fei roared. He was unreconciled. He had just promised Han Chani, Xia Xiaochan, and Shiman Linglan. How could he go back on his word? Collect. At that moment, a disk appeared in the sky from the endless void. Han Fei didn't know if this method would work. If the divine vine exploded, he would have no trump cards left. Therefore, at the moment the divine vine exploded, Han Fei hid the creation star compass in the endless void, waiting to activate it. And this was the last moment. The creation star compass swallowed the star river. The real ominous immediately wanted to retreat. However, Hongjuan's ominous body laughed. With one hand, he held the infinite power of the world to stop the ominous from escaping. With the other hand, he swept across the void with his broken arm, cutting off a section of the world that was about to be swallowed by the creation star compass. Ha ha ha. Hongjuan's ominous body laughed out loud. I already knew of the existence of the creation star compass. Do you think I didn't know it? It's just that this idiot, the ominous, thought he was strong and underestimated these small tricks. Shen Lu, I'm not very interested in your chaotic star sea, but I don't have the time to help you. Whether you can suppress the ominous depends on your own ability. At this moment, the ominous still had a trace of spiritual will that hadn't been completely swallowed. He roared, Han Fei, let go of the creation star compass. At least I can help you destroy Hongjuan's ominous body. At this moment, Han Fei had almost been dragged onto the path of no return. A misty water vapor almost covered him. Han Fei roared, we can't release the ominous, nor can we release Hongjuan's ominous body. Immediately afterward, Han Fei condensed the last wisp of his spiritual will and left the last divine sound in front of the dam of the path of no return. The sound wave surged. Primordial chaos has no Tao. When the world was first created, all things were born and myriad Taos were born. If they don't enter the world, I'll be the Tao. This is the path to surpass dominators. In the next moment, Han Fei's figure was completely covered by the mist and disappeared on the path of no return. On the path of no return, from the dam, the distant sky was enshrouded in multicolored light, and there seemed to be flying dragons and dancing phoenixes. As soon as Han Fei fell into it, he felt that the restraining power of the heavenly Tao on his body had loosened. The two peak-level dominator ominous creatures that sacrificed themselves and transformed into the heavenly Tao turned into colorful light of the great Tao that filled the sky under the impact of the steaming water vapor here. Then, these great Taos began to collapse and melt. Whoosh! A wave of water vapor surged and swept away the ominous mist in one fell swoop. Han Fei was sucked into the wave with some ominous matter. Buzz. At that moment, Han Fei felt the infinite great Tao slapping him. Laws filled the sky, impacting his body and breaking laws. What a terrifying wave. Han Fei hurriedly activated the invincible body, because he discovered, to his shock, that this sea flowed with the great Tao, and the waves undulated to form tides. The waves slapping here were laws, endless. The great Tao tide and the waves of laws. Every wave was like the power of a star river impacting. If one wasn't a dominator, how could he dare to set foot here? A single wave would be enough to destroy a sea-quelling god. Even a dominator probably couldn't cross far here. This was because Han Fei had already seen some broken ancient corpses precipitating in the sea of great Taos. These corpses looked like they had just died. Some had been pierced through, leaving mysterious holes on their bodies. Some had broken bones as if they had been whipped by a huge force, and some had broken bodies with claw marks all over their bodies. Is there a creature on this path of no return? Not all of these people were dominators. In the primordial era, many people had actually embarked on the path of no return, but they didn't know the conditions to embark on this path at all. They had to be at least sequeling gods to stop here for a moment. However, it was obvious that many people just came here without knowing much about this place and then were swept into the sea by the great Tao tide, killed at the entrance by the waves of the law. However, they probably wouldn't kill each other, because they might not even have a chance to fight here. Therefore, how these corpses were injured was still a mystery. This was just the first thing Han Fei saw when he fell on the path of no return. Activating the invincible body, Han Fei immediately turned around and looked in the direction he came from. If possible, he certainly wanted to go back. Although he was indeed curious about the path of no return, he was not in the mood now, because there were still many people waiting for him. In. Han Fei looked back and found that the dam was still there, visible to the naked eye. He was excited and couldn't help but look forward to it. Although he couldn't return once he stepped on the path of no return, the dam was clearly there. He had just come in and was almost still on the shore. As long as he climbed up the dam, he had a chance to successfully return to the chaotic Star Sea. As for why the predecessors said that there was no way to return, it might be because the people who came in were either not strong enough and were slapped to death, or they pursued the supreme great Tao, went deep into the path of no return, and fell into an even more terrifying situation, so they couldn't return. As for him, he was a peak-level supreme dominator. If he didn't go deeper, why couldn't he return? Bang! Humph! I'm not afraid of the heavenly Tao, or the myriad Taos. This wave is just a little stronger. What can it do to me? Kill! Han Fei roared and took dozens of steps forward with his hand as a knife. These dozens of steps were the limit of what Han Fei could do. In addition to the great Tao tide and the surging tide of laws, there was also endless mist above the sea. This mist seemed to be an extremely special power. Every wisp of water vapor seemed to be as heavy as a star. Therefore, if Han Fei wanted to go back, he had to first withstand the heavy pressure of the water vapor. But this was not a reason to stop Han Fei. Puff! 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 The falling tide was cut in 3 places by Han Fei in a row. This scene gave Han Fei hope. 1 slash, 2 slashes, 3 slashes. Han Fei slashed thousands of times, and along the way, he saw corpses one after another. Obviously, many people immediately chose to go back after coming in. However, it was not easy to return. In the end, they died here. Han Fei was getting closer and closer to the dam, and his heart was even more excited. However, when he really stepped not far from the dam, he suddenly stopped. He couldn't see the chaotic Star Sea through the dam. Yes, the dam seemed to block his vision and all his perception. Han Fei pointed his hands and the sword of shattering suddenly shot out. But this time it wasn't as smooth as before. When the sword hit the edge of the dam, fist light shot out of the dam one after another. Han Fei didn't know where the fist light came from, but it appeared just like that and stopped him from returning. I'm going home. Why are you stopping me? Han Fei no longer attacked from a distance. He immediately pounced forward and threw out thousands of fist lights in an instant. However, Han Fei's attempt to cross the dam seemed to have triggered some mysterious power. All kinds of attacks appeared from behind the dam. Fist light, sword chi, knife, intent, axe marks, and claw marks were endless. Kill. Endless Great Dao runes also appeared around Han Fei, turning into dazzling knife lights that collided with the power gushing out of the dam. Bang! 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 The explosions were continuous, and the attacks of the two sides had almost filled this place. However, it wasn't like in the Sea of Stars here. In the chaotic Star Sea, or the primordial Star Sea, the collision of such extraordinary powers was enough to crush a star river. However, here, it was just an ordinary explosion. After all the power dispersed, it only turned into the runes of the Great Dao and was sucked into the tide. Han Fei moved forward with difficulty under these obstacles. He was very close to the dam, only 1,000 steps away. But at this moment, he saw the Great Dao tide floating in the air and stopping, turning into a huge wave and tsunami. F***ck. Han Fei couldn't help but curse. Not only was there a Great Dao tide, but there was also such a Great Dao tsunami? In the blink of an eye, Han Fei roared and activated his invincible will to the extreme. At the same time, he summoned the creation mystic Yellow Tower and stood in front of him. Whoosh! The tsunami tide, the endless Great Dao, the surging laws, and the misty water vapor destroyed all the attacks that Han Fei had launched before. The powerful tide slapped at Han Fei ferociously, and the creation mystic Yellow Tower emitted sizzling sounds as light flashed on it. Crack bam. In the end, it only lasted for 8 seconds before the creation mystic Yellow Tower shattered, and the entire tower was broken in half. The creation mystic Yellow Tower collapsed, and the tsunami tide hit Han Fei. Ka. Han Fei retreated all the way. Only by constantly retreating could he digest this crazy tsunami. In just a moment, Han Fei retreated past his starting point and was pushed all the way to the depths of the path of no return by the tsunami tide. Crack. The invincible body was broken, and in the blink of an eye, countless fine cracks appeared on Han Fei's body. Fortunately, there was no shortage of law power here, so with a thought from Han Fei, the law of life kept repairing itself. Unfortunately, when the tsunami stopped, Han Fei was 7 or 8 times further away from the dam than before. Han Fei clenched his fist in anger and suddenly punched the flowing sea of the Great Dao, shattering the Great Dao under his feet, but in an instant, the sea returned to normal. Han Fei seemed to understand why he couldn't return from this path. It was because it was too difficult to return. Even though he had 49 pieces of star river origin power, when facing the tsunami, he felt that he was facing an entire sea of stars. He felt lucky that he wasn't slapped to death on the spot. It was a pity that the creation mystic Yellow Tower, atop supreme nature treasure, collapsed on the path of no return. This was the first time Han Fei had seen a supreme nature treasure level treasure collapse so completely. In addition, Han Fei also made some other discoveries in this tsunami, which was that there were some unknown Great Daos and unknown laws here that Han Fei had never seen. Besides, there was something wrong with the steaming mist. Not only was it as heavy as a star, but it also seemed to be sharper than the infinity water that had reached the level of an ultra-quality nature spiritual treasure. When the tsunami came just now, the first thing that rushed over was water vapor, which was extremely sharp. It was also one of the main forces to destroy the creation mystic Yellow Tower. At this moment, the law of life surged on Han Fei's body, and divine brilliance spread. He wondered if he should try again. Perhaps there was only one tsunami of that level? This time, Han Fei was prepared. He left the remnants of the lightning technique along the way as a springboard for lightning jumping, so that he wouldn't have to use his supreme nature treasures. An hour later. Bang! The tsunami wave came again. Thunder arcs flashed and jumped. When the tsunami came again, Han Fei was blasted back a little, but fortunately, he was safe. However, this also proved one thing. No matter how many times he went back, there would probably be such a powerful tsunami waiting for him. Han Fei made a clear judgment. A dominator couldn't withstand the impact of such a tsunami at all. Not to mention the dominator realm, even Han Fei, who had cultivated to the third level of the path of invincibility and had a supreme nature treasure, had been blasted back. What would happen to other dominator-level powerhouses? Could be imagined. No. I have to go back. Han Fei thought of something and immediately summoned the green jade stone bridge. What if he could return from the River of Laws? The more Han Fei thought about it, the more excited he became. However, when he walked to the green jade stone bridge, he couldn't enter the path of reincarnation. He just stood on the bridge. Han Fei tried to get off the bridge, but nothing changed. The green jade stone bridge seemed to have really become an ordinary bridge. Is it because I've left the chaotic star sea? Han Fei took a deep breath, was silent for a moment, and thought to himself. There's still time. I can accelerate time. Han Fei calmed himself down and began to think. He couldn't go up the dam. The path of reincarnation might not be within the range of the chaotic star sea and couldn't be connected to the River of Laws in the chaotic star sea. What else could he do? There was only one answer. Breaking through to the Taoist level was the only way for him to return to the chaotic star sea. However, even if he comprehended the Taoist realm, how could he make a breakthrough so easily? His time was limited now. The creation star compass he had set up in advance had trapped the real ominous. Now that the creation star compass was in the hands of senior sister Shenlu, he shouldn't have to worry about the ominous coming out for at least a year. Previously, in the primordial era, the creation star compass had trapped the ominous, but it was broken after only 3 years. Now, after the creation star compass was broken and repaired, it was damaged again. It probably wouldn't last 3 years, but it would be good if it could trap the ominous for a year. However, a year was too short for senior sister Shenlu and the myriad races in the sea realm unless senior sister Shenlu could immediately comprehend the way to advance above the dominator level. But even if senior sister Shenlu comprehended it, she probably didn't have the time to make a breakthrough, because she had clearly told senior sister Shenlu that she couldn't let Hongjuan's ominous body leave. This was because Hongjuan's ominous body had obtained the mysterious severed arm. This thing was the agreement between Hongjun and the ominous. This thing would definitely be able to break the creation jade plate, just like how the ominous could use that thing to break the world divine mirror. Therefore, once Hongjuan's ominous body left, the creation jade plate would definitely be broken through. Senior sister Shenlu and the others wouldn't even be able to descend into the primordial star sea. And once the primordial star sea was really swallowed by Hongjuan's ominous body, its strength would definitely be higher. Otherwise, why would they spend So much effort to conquer a sea of stars? Once the primordial star sea fell, the chaotic star sea would definitely fall. And the real ominous who had lost the initiative would almost certainly die. At that time, Hongjun would swallow 2 pieces of the sea of stars and destroy the ominous original body, which would be the biggest winner. Therefore, no matter what Hongjun's ominous body said, he couldn't believe it. It was pure nonsense that he wasn't interested in the chaotic star sea. This was just his stalling plan. The only good thing was that the peak-level dominator-level ominous subordinates of the real ominous and Hongjun's ominous body had almost been wiped out. Furthermore, these 2 people were shockingly similar. The real ominous controlled 4 peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures, which had been wiped out by Han Fei. Hongjun's ominous body also controlled 4 peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures. 1 died in the primordial star sea, 1 died on the path of no return, and 1 transformed into the heavenly Tao and was dispersed by the great Tao tide. Therefore, the only powerhouses in the ominous at this moment were Hongjun's ominous body and 1 of his peak-level dominator-level subordinates. As for whether he had more, Han Fei didn't know. Even if he did, there were still Senior Brother Undead and the Death God in the Sea Realm. It shouldn't be a problem to temporarily entangle them. Of course, the premise was that Senior Sister Shenlu could defend against Hongjun's ominous body. In fact, Han Fei wasn't optimistic about this. The ominous was unimaginably powerful. After fighting the real ominous for 5 days, Shenlu was forcibly trapped by the other party with the ominous matter. It wouldn't take long. As long as Senior Sister Shenlu was trapped for half an hour or a moment, Hongjun's ominous body could return to the primordial star sea easily. This was what Han Fei was most worried about. Although Senior Sister Shenlu had already suffered once, there were some things that even if she knew, she might not be able to avoid it. Just like when Han Fei was washed back by the tsunami once, could he say that he wouldn't be affected the second time? Therefore, the best way was for him to break through the bottleneck of the Dominator realm and enter the Dallas realm. He hadn't gone deep into the path of no return yet. There was still a chance. The only obstacle to his return was the dam. After careful consideration, Han Fei decided to set up time acceleration here and comprehend the Tao. In the misty water vapor, above the surging waves, Han Fei sat cross-legged in midair, as steady as a rock. Even though the power of various great Taos impacted him again and again, he still couldn't shake it. However, less than half an hour after Han Fei sat cross-legged, an inexplicable threat struck his heart. With a bang, Han Fei turned into a lightning arc and jumped out. Crack. When Han Fei looked back, he found that a crab had appeared behind him. Its pincers were like the sharpest blades, and there were great Tao laws flowing on its body. Crab? How is it possible? Han Fei found it ridiculous. How could creatures be born on this path of no return? But in the next moment, Han Fei was surprised to find that this crab was not a real creature at all, but born with some kind of power, because they didn't have the river of life. No vitality. It's just an illusion. Swish. The crab was as fast as the wind. In the tide of the great Tao, it seemed to enter an uninhabited place and was shockingly fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Han Fei and waved its huge pincers, as if it wanted to hammer Han Fei to death. Han Fei was not afraid at all. Facing the giant pincer, he punched out. Boom. The violent explosion crushed the surrounding great Daos and laws. Han Fei's face changed drastically. How is this possible? Isn't this fake? However, this real impact of power was too real. It didn't feel like an illusion at all. Furthermore, the power of this crab's hammer contained the power of annihilation, the Tao of destruction, and even a power seal. It was just a hammer, but it contained dozens of extremely rare and difficult to comprehend rules and laws. If it weren't for the fact that the crab's strength seemed to be a little weaker, Han Fei even felt that this blow might have hurt him. But Han Fei had no time to think. In the next moment, he was horrified again. This was because he saw with his own eyes that behind the crab, a great Tao tide rose, but it didn't cause any waves. Instead, a cyan flood dragon crawled out. Not only the cyan flood dragon, but Han Fei also saw countless bulging bumps. He couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. Did they say that there was a strange creature in every bulging bump? Han Fei roared and held the blood sky blade in his hand. The knife light burst out, and the surrounding void rumbled. With Han Fei as the center, the great Tao collapsed, and Han Fei didn't let the great Tao tide here hit his body. Again. Swish, swish. Han Fei moved like wind and thunder. In the next moment, he was already standing on the crab, and information had already appeared in his eyes. Name: Great Tao Spiritual Body. Introduction: Spiritual bodies evolved from Great Taos. They don't exist in themselves. It's the rules of the Great Tao that give them form. Great Tao. Spiritual bodies have no consciousness and no combat skills. They fight with the fundamental power of the rules or laws of the original Great Tao. Type: Great Tao Spirit Body. Realm: Sequeling God. Battle technique: None. Collectible: None. Unabsorbable. Note: fighting with a Great Tao spiritual body can increase your comprehension of the origin Great Tao or the origin law. Origin Great Tao? Origin law? Han Fei was speechless when he saw the information about the crab. No wonder. He couldn't feel the vitality of this thing. It turned out that this thing was formed by the rules of the Great Tao. However, to Han Fei's shock, these Great Tao spiritual bodies all used the origin Great Tao. The Great Tao of origin and the law of origin. That was all the comprehension of this Tao. Ordinary people's Tao was enough for them to explore for a lifetime, and even so, they still couldn't fully show their Tao's power. But here, the Great Tao spiritual bodies were born with the origin Great Tao and the origin law. How terrifying was this? This power made a sea-quelling god-level Great Tao spiritual body almost injure him, but Han Fei failed to kill it with one blow. Puff. The blood sky blade stabbed into the shell of the Great Tao crab and poured out power, annihilating the crab. However, infinite Great Tao spiritual bodies appeared in all directions, which made Han Fei's scalp tingle. Could the sea-quelling god really not kill a dominator? Not necessarily. If the sea-quelling god had an independent consciousness and mastered the origin Great Tao and the origin law, it was completely possible. For example, the 10 Yama kings could suppress a dominator together. For example, the master of the time palace could resist the power of a dominator. These people had all walked extremely far on their respective paths. Although they weren't dominators, they barely had the power to resist a dominator. When the number of sea-quelling gods of this level reached a certain number and attacked at the same time, not to mention ordinary dominators, they might even be able to kill peak-level dominators. After all, a peak-level dominator could only grasp 49 pieces of Star River origin power. And a sea-quelling god could actually barely grasp one piece of Star River origin power. If there were thousands of sea-quelling gods who had mastered the origin great Tao and laws, they would probably be able to kill even peak-level dominators. Therefore, facing the countless great Tao spiritual bodies, Han Fei was speechless. Would they give him time to cultivate and comprehend the Tao? Obviously not. But he had to find a way to survive their hands first. However, how should he survive in this vast sea of great Taos? Either he could quickly return to the dam, or he could only run deeper into the path of no return. If he ran slowly, he might be killed by these great Tao spiritual bodies. Han Fei gritted his teeth. At this moment, he understood why no one could return after embarking on the path of no return. On the way back, if one's strength didn't exceed the limit of the Dominator realm, he wouldn't be able to climb the dam after stepping into the Dallas realm. And if he couldn't climb the dam, so many great Tao spiritual bodies would appear. Although they weren't conscious, there were too many of them. Therefore, those who came in could only run into the depths of the path of no return. If they were slow, they would be directly killed. However, the dense water vapor here was extremely powerful. Not everyone could run quickly here. Therefore, as soon as he stepped on the path of no return, he saw a pile of corpses. At this moment, Han Fei was facing the same situation as the others. He couldn't climb the dam, nor did he want to face these countless great Tao spiritual bodies, so there was only one way for him. Go deeper, which was the only chance to survive. No matter how unwilling Han Fei was, he had no choice. He couldn't die. Only by living could he have a chance to return. And if he didn't want to die, he had to go deeper. At this moment, Han Fei made a choice. He would walk deeper and avoid the battle first. He had a chance. As long as he found a way to step into the Dallas realm, it would be an opportunity. Swish. 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 Immediately, Han Fei didn't stay any longer and accelerated towards the depths of the path of return. Of course, during this process, battles were inevitable. Bang. 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 Han Fei walked on the path of no return, full of danger along the way. From time to time, a great Tao spiritual body would attack him. Han Fei didn't know how far he had gone. Anyway, in the endless battles, he was distracted by thinking about a way to make a breakthrough. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in Han Fei's vision in the distance. Here, perception was meaningless and could only be observed with the naked eye. Is that an island? Han Fei had a strange feeling, but then he was overjoyed. The path of no return was full of great Taos. Why was there an island? What power and what matter could turn it into an island here? However, since it was an island, did it mean that there was a temporary habitat? After all, islands, like dams, could resist the great Tao tide. In the vast sea of great Taos, if you moved forward every day, there would always be unexpected situations. At this time, if there was an island, would you go? Han Fei rushed to the island without hesitation. Whether there was a more terrifying danger there or not, that was his only choice. After a while, Han Fei leaned forward and saw the cliff of the island. He also saw that under the cliff, 3 tides were converging because of the terrain. Han Fei saw with his own eyes that a great tide turned into a spiritual body. But it was no longer as simple as the sea-quelling god. Those are Dominator-level Great Tao spiritual bodies. 3. Although Han Fei had been walking on the path of no return for a day, he hadn't walked far. With the mysterious majestic water vapor blocking him, he couldn't move fast. At this moment, the 3 Great Tao spiritual bodies all turned into flood dragons. After seeing Han Fei, they rushed at him at the same time. Han Fei had defeated countless sea-quelling god-level Great Tao spiritual bodies along the way, so he was naturally not afraid. Furthermore, Han Fei took the initiative to attack first. He flipped his palm and expelled the water vapor here. Laws gathered in Han Fei's palm, thunder and fire spread. And a huge force was condensing, dazzling. Roar. Rumble. Han Fei's casual blow seemed simple, but it was actually extremely domineering. The power of his palm crushed the 3-headed flood dragon into the Great Tao wave. However, how could it be so simple? The 3 dragons raised their heads and spewed out the brilliance of the Great Tao. Among them, there were original strength techniques attacking, original lightning techniques interweaving, and original fire techniques burning. The 3 dragons worked together and broke the power of Han Fei's palm. Han Fei snorted. The strength of the 3 early-stage Dominator-level Great Tao spiritual bodies should be between 5 and 8 pieces of Star River origin power. But when they used their origin Great Taos or laws, they could even penetrate the power of him, a supreme dominator. This at least proved that skill was superior to brute force. Han Fei's fist light flashed and he instantly fought the 3 flood dragons. It wasn't that Han Fei didn't want to fight, but he felt that the existence of Great Tao spiritual bodies was a little strange. How did they condense the origin laws they had? Along the way, countless Great Tao spiritual bodies had unique Taos, which were all origin Taos. Although Han Fei knew that on the path of no return, the tide of the Great Tao was surging, why was it that what was condensed was the origin Tao? If he could comprehend the origin Tao on the path of no return, even if he couldn't break through to the Dominator realm, he should be very strong. While Han Fei was thinking, he saw a figure appear on the island. Someone was looking over. Has anyone come? This person is very strong. He actually fought Dominator-level Great Tao spiritual bodies for so long. He's not just very strong. He hasn't used his full strength yet. Look, the 3 origin laws can't shake him at all. Instead, he's trying to condense these 3 origin laws. Han Fei was a little surprised and excited to see someone. This was because this could at least prove one thing, which was that one didn't have to die on this path. He might indeed be able to survive this path. Bang! 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 What? This person is actually so strong? He blew up 3 Dominator-level Great Tao spiritual bodies with 3 punches. Has the crisis in the chaotic star sea been resolved? Are the strong embarking on this path again? Buzz. Han Fei quickly landed on the island and came to the group of people in the next moment, looking at the 8 of them. Of the 2 powerhouses of the 6 lineages, one was from the strange beast lineage, and the other was from the demon plant lineage. The rest were from other lineages. On the opposite side, someone was the first to speak. May I ask your name? Han Fei glanced at the 8 of them. They were all dominators, but their strength was neither high nor low. Their strength exceeded 10 pieces of Star River origin power, but the highest seemed to be no more than 20 pieces of Star River origin power. Han Fei nodded slightly. Human Emperor, Han Fei. human emperor? Someone was surprised. The human race has risen again? Someone asked in concern, how is it? Has the chaotic star seat been defended? Han Fei looked at the man. Do you know that the chaotic star sea is fighting? A woman said, more than 8,000 years ago, the master of the void descended here and brought us news. Oh? Han Fei's eyes glittered. Eldest senior brother. Where is he? Eldest senior brother? Everyone looked at each other and couldn't help but look at Han Fei again. They didn't expect this person to also be from the Void Temple. However, it wasn't surprising. Perhaps only the strong masters of the three temples could guard the current chaotic star sea, right? Therefore, it seemed natural for the strong masters of the three temples to take the ominous to the path of no return. Someone said, the master of the void only stayed for a day, left some inheritances on the island, and left. Oh? Han Fei scanned around with his perception. At least, on this island, his perception hadn't been blocked by the great Tao tide and laws. This island was only the size of an ordinary star, relatively small. Compared to this boundless sea of great Taos, it was simply one of the stars. On the island, there was a dense mysterious cave. There were thousands of caves, but each of them had a seal. Among them, some of the barriers outside the caves were surrounded by rays of light. On the rock walls outside every cave, there was some information about this inheritor. Yu Xing, from the demon plant race, cultivated on the dragon-subduing island for 12 million years, but in the end, I couldn't make any more progress. When I obtained 23 pieces of Star River origin power. Therefore, I decided to go deeper into the path of no return. I specially left my entire life of cultivation insights for future generations to see and appraise. Wang Yang, the descendant of the Beiming heavenly rock, cultivated on the dragon-subduing island for 17 million years and finally obtained 31 pieces of Star River origin power. Seeing these records, Han Fei was shocked. Countless strong masters from ancient times who embarked on the path of no return had once come to the dragon-subduing island and cultivated here. When they couldn't improve anymore, they finally chose to embark on the journey. As for what they cultivated, Han Fei could understand. It was nothing more than comprehending more origin great Taos and origin laws to modify themselves. In fact, when he saw the great Tao spiritual bodies, Han Fei also had an urge, which was to slowly study the various great Taos here and improve the Tao techniques he had mastered to the origin realm. At that time, his strength would definitely soar. At that time, even those who were also peak level dominators and had mastered many origin, great Taos and laws were almost definitely stronger than those who hadn't mastered the origin great Tao. However, what Han Fei knew better was that he didn't have time. Most of these people who left behind the cave inheritance had stayed here for tens of millions of years. Even so, there were very few people who could step into the 49 pieces of Star River origin power. Among them, there were some caves that were quite extraordinary. For example, Han Fei saw an ancient cave with the words, "The first supreme of chaos was here for a visit." Another example was that there were only 4 words written outside a cave. "My name is Songtian." Another example was the words "Li Daoi passed by here" outside the cave. Han Fei soon found a new cave. There was nothing written outside the cave, but there was a void enshrouded. Immediately, Han Fei understood that this was the cave left behind by eldest senior brother. However, Han Fei looked around again but didn't find teacher prophets. Inheritance. He thought to himself, does teacher disdain leaving in inheritance? Han Fei came back to himself and then looked at these people. Fellow Taoists. I'm afraid I'm in a hurry and can't have a long chat with you. Let's talk after I finish reading these tens of thousands of inheritances, okay? Huh? Someone frowned. Fellow Taoist, you've already come to the path of no return. What's the rush? Han Fei looked back and said casually, I have to go back. Go back? They were all a little stunned for a moment, and then someone smiled bitterly. Fellow Taoist, you should have seen the corpses along the way. You can come, but you can't return. So far, no one has ever embarked on the path of return. Someone shook his head. Fellow Taoist, we know that you are not weak and probably have more than 40 pieces of Star River origin power. But it's unlikely for you to return. After you read the records left behind by those people, you will find that even if you reach the peak of the Dominator realm, you still can't return. Han Fei's Tao heart was firm and unwavering. Well, how terrifying was this power? Is he a peak-level Dominator? It's very likely. Although it's not difficult to break these barriers, it's unbelievable that they can all be broken with a thought. That's right. It took us more than 8,000 years to break the void barrier left behind by the Master of the Void. I didn't expect it to be broken at this moment. As they spoke, the time river suddenly flowed out around Han Fei, and the entire space was covered by the law of time. The 8 of them looked at each other. Someone was puzzled. Aren't they strong masters from the Void Temple? How did they master the great Tao of time? More importantly, this time law is so terrifying. It accelerated this place by more than 1,000 times in an instant. Then let's just watch. We haven't had the time to introduce ourselves. Someone said, this person is extremely powerful. He might not care who we are. However, so what? He can only go forward. I don't believe that he can return to the chaotic Star Sea. Those who could leave caves on the dragon-subduing island were all peerless heavenly talents of the myriad races in the past. Although most of them stopped at the Dominator realm, their lifetime insights were still precious. For a moment, countless divine techniques, countless paths, endless bumpy experiences, and endless storms of blood appeared from these insights. Han Fei paid special attention to the cave left by the First Supreme and the others. However, nothing was left in the cave of the First Supreme. Just like his message, he was just here. In the cave of Xantian, there was his understanding of the supreme technique. However, even if future generations could find out through this place, they wouldn't have this chance. So what if they knew the way to walk the supreme path? Ordinary people couldn't make it in the end. Immediately afterward, in Li Daoi's cave, there was only a hairpin floating. At the end of the hairpin was a butterfly. There were no words or perceptions. It was just a butterfly hairpin. Han Fei couldn't help but smile. Chen Lingsu gave him a butterfly hairpin, and Li Daoi left a butterfly hairpin. It seemed that these two people were deeply in love. However, Han Fei didn't know why Li Daoi left the butterfly hairpin. Had he put this relationship down? What was left in eldest senior brother's cave was a memory of the Tao of all living beings. What Han Fei saw was a void wandering in the sea of stars, without a body. This void could swallow everything and became bigger and bigger until he swallowed a large area of primordial mist. As a result, This void gave birth to consciousness and even gradually turned into a human shape. In the body of void, billions of stars and endless creatures were born. However, after void turned into a human, he was still wandering. He felt that he should pursue something, but he didn't know what to do. Until one day, Teacher Prophet appeared, met him, and saw through his nature. She said, "You don't have a heart, so what you've been chasing is just your own heart." Eldest senior brother asked, "How should I find it?" The prophet pointed at the billions of creatures in his body and said, "You can treat them as your heart. They are you, and you are them." Therefore, eldest senior brother cut off all his consciousness, slumbering in the star rivers he nurtured, hiding in the hearts of the billions of creatures. Gradually, eldest senior brother witnessed the birth, growth, and destruction of living beings. He witnessed the various states of life, the entanglement of love and hate, the separation of life and death, and the cycle. Until the ominous appeared, corroded this void, and destroyed the creatures here. And this behavior woke up eldest senior brother, who was dormant in the hearts of billions of creatures. When all living beings were destroyed, the great Tao was born. Therefore, eldest senior brother, who had suppressed the chaos for countless years, was born at this moment. From the moment he was born, eldest senior brother was all living beings, holding the Tao of all living beings, and transforming into all living beings. And eldest senior brother was the only one who practiced the Tao of all living beings because of love instead of giving up love and severing affection to practice the Tao of all living beings. Therefore, eldest senior brother was the only one who controlled the Tao of all living beings and still had emotions. After reading the short memory brand of eldest senior brother, Han Fei couldn't help taking a deep breath. All Taos had to be walked by suitable people. Eldest senior brother's path was almost impossible to replicate. This was because at the moment he cut off all his consciousness, eldest senior brother was actually equivalent to dying, or he had transformed into the will of the heavenly Tao at that moment. When Han Fei finished reading this memory, 12 words appeared in the cave. It's the world, the heavenly Tao, all living beings, and myself. When he saw these 12 words, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. When he saw the last sentence, it's myself, Han Fei knew that eldest senior brother had comprehended something. Perhaps, a long time ago, eldest senior brother had already comprehended it. However, he still needed to guard the sea realm, and only he knew how to become himself. However, eldest senior brother's path was not suitable for the creatures of all races. The conditions of this path were extremely harsh. First of all, you had to master the Tao of all living beings and be able to suppress the Tao of all living beings to prevent yourself from becoming ruthless. Only then could you be qualified to propose the path of finding yourself. Han Fei knew that this was the path left by eldest senior brother. He even left the path behind the Tao of all living beings. Unfortunately, this path didn't mean much to him. In addition to the caves opened by these top figures he knew, Han Fei was still searching and checking other people's insights. 1, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Most of these inheritances were the path of cultivation of the creators of these caves. In the end, they all came to the same destination without any particularly enlightening insights. Just as Han Fei was about to give up, he suddenly saw that in the last few caves explored, a guy with only 13 pieces of Star River origin power raised an interesting guess. Since we've cultivated to this point, how can we not die? This is because of our Tao hearts. Our physical bodies will eventually decay, but our Tao hearts will last forever. Since my body can't return from the path of no return, I shall abandon my body, refine my soul and use everything I have to transform into a supreme Tao seed until the flower blooms on the other side. Who is this person? How bold! Han Fei couldn't help but look at the words left behind. He learned that this person was actually a human powerhouse, but he didn't sign it. Is this teacher? Han Fei's pupils were constricted slightly. His teacher had never said that he was very powerful, but all this time, his teacher had always given people the feeling that he was a real wise man. Therefore, Han Fei didn't find the cave left by his teacher before, because he instinctively felt that his teacher had at least 40 or even 49 pieces of star river origin power. However, he had neglected one thing. As a teacher, he might not be stronger than his students. 13 pieces of star river origin power were indeed not strong, even weaker than most people here. However, the insights he left in his cave shocked Han Fei greatly. Just as he said, he would use everything he had to transform into a supreme Tao seed. Who knew where this Tao seed would eventually be, and where it would flow to? However, as long as his Tao heart was not destroyed, this Tao seed would eventually be revived and reappear somewhere, stunning the world. Of course, Han Fei was amazed by this idea, but this path was not suitable for him. What he wanted was to return to the chaotic star sea, not to bloom on the other side. However, he had gained something. Would he really die after using all his strength? After reading the comprehension of all the strong masters in a day, Han Fei stopped looking. From the moment he comprehended the Taoist realm, he had already opened a new door. The door was right in front of him. He just needed to enter it. The Taoist realm is definitely not the true Taoist realm, but a realm where I can derive my own great Tao. If my great Tao hasn't been derived, what am I? A Taoist body? No, no. Han Fei didn't dare to continue thinking. 3 years later, Han Fei calculated countless possibilities, but none of them worked. He had to go back to his original idea. It was very difficult to achieve the Taoist body. First of all, spiritual heritage was a problem. If he wanted to build a Taoist body, he had to destroy his dual spiritual heritages first. This was almost no different from suicide. It wasn't enough to destroy his 2 spiritual heritages. His supreme bones would probably collapse too. Then wouldn't his flesh and blood have to be rebuilt? In this case, he'd better let the creation jade plate completely reshape him. Han Fei thought carefully about the price this kind of behavior would bring him. If he went the wrong way, not only would he not be able to return to the chaotic star sea, but he might also die. Although he had comprehended death, God knew how long it would take for him to revive again. In a flash, 8 years had passed. Although less than 2 days had passed outside the law of time, Han Fei became anxious. Not to mention 2 days, even half an hour might be enough for something to happen in the chaotic star sea. What if senior sister Shenlu failed to stop Hongjuan's ominous body? Han Fei estimated that senior sister Shenlu could only hold Hongjuan's ominous body in check for 5 to 7 days. This was because if Hongjuan's ominous body was determined to run, even if senior sister Shenlu wanted to stop him, it wouldn't be easy. With the power of the primordial star sea, it was impossible for it to resist the baptism of Hongjuan's ominous body for a day. If he didn't hurry up, It would be too late even if he could return. I'll try it. Han Fei suddenly got up, and the surrounding time law suddenly dissipated. The 8 dominators were stunned to see Han Fei suddenly get up, wondering if he had finished reading it so quickly. However, in the next moment, Han Fei punched out a cave. He curled his finger and wrote in the air, permanently leaving the true meaning of the Dallas realm in the cave and branding it with a seal. Han Fei wrote outside the cave, "My name is Han Fei. I'll leave a way to surpass the Dominator realm for future generations to see." Hiss. Han Fei's actions stunned the 8 dominators. A technique that surpassed the Dominator realm? Impossible. I don't believe it at all. He is powerful, but why? I've never heard of anyone surpassing the Dominator realm. I think we can take a look. I don't think a strong master at his level will brag. Someone said, "Why don't we just ask him?" Fellow Taoist. Tao. As soon as this person shouted, before he had the time to say anything, Han Fei had already arrived at the terrain where the 3 dragons of the dragon subduing island converged. Swish. These people hurriedly followed him, only to see that Han Fei had already taken a step forward and returned to the Sea of Great Chaos. At that moment, the surrounding waves of laws began to transform into spiritual bodies again. Han Fei had made up his mind. He bet that he might still have this chance to return to the chaotic Star Sea. If he lost the bet, he would walk ahead of Xia Shaochan and Shiman Linglan. After all, he didn't want to hear the bad news about them. Fellow Taoist Han Fei, what are you going to do? Han Fei glanced at them and then shouted, "My name is Han Fei. Today, I'm on Dragon Subduing Island. I want to break through the Dominator realm and reach the Dallas realm. Fellow Taoists, you can take this as a reference." What? Break through the Dominator realm? What realm is the Dallas realm? At this moment, on the Great Tao Sea, waves rose one after another, and great Tao spiritual bodies were condensed. Even the 3 Dominator-level Great Tao spiritual bodies that Han Fei pierced through were condensing. Explode. Han Fei was breaking his spiritual heritage, but he wasn't courting death. It wasn't that he hadn't seen a pulseless body before. The first technique he cultivated, the indestructible body, was actually based on the pulseless body. This was created by Ren Tianfei in the past. It could be said to have pioneered body refinement. Therefore, destroying one's spiritual heritage didn't mean death. Besides, Han Fei also wanted to try the path behind the Godfiend body. One of his dual spiritual heritages carried power, and the other carried the soul. Although the two fused to give birth to a black hole vortex, this was not the true fusion. Therefore, he had once wondered if the dual spiritual heritages should be fused. However, he didn't have to worry about this problem now. Boom. Boom. As the origin spiritual heritage and the eternal darkness spiritual heritage shattered, Han Fei drenched himself in blood in an instant. The first step is to have no spiritual heritage. Rumble. Even on the Sea of Great Chaos, a strange phenomenon appeared, and a death knell began to wail. Multicolored light spewed out of Han Fei's body, accompanied by terrifying energy, instantly expelling the surrounding water vapor. As for Han Fei, his 7 orifices were bleeding, but his expression was unusually calm. There was no turning back. The golden cave born from the convergence of the 2 spiritual heritages had already trembled crazily. Han Fei thought too. himself. The second step is to fuse the gods and devils and condense a divine persona Tao seed. At that moment, the two shattered spiritual heritages were all sucked into the golden cave. At the same time, infinite energy was sucked in. Since he became a god, Han Fei hadn't condensed a divine persona because he didn't need it. But today, he wanted to give it a try. If he refined the golden cave as a divine persona and a Tao seed, he could temporarily stabilize its form. And the collapse of his dual spiritual heritages represented the collapse of his original great Tao. Although the law of life was powerful, if he wanted to go further, he had to put it down. First, it was dual spiritual heritages, then energy, and then the great Tao. And laws. Everything was surging into the golden cave. Just as the powerhouse suspected to be teacher prophet said, use all his strength to transform into a supreme Tao seed and wait for the flower to bloom on the other side of the shore. But Han Fei didn't want the flower to bloom on the other side. He wanted the flower to bloom in the present. A terrifying energy burst out of Han Fei's body, which shocked the 8 people on the dragon subduing island. What a terrifying power. Sure enough, this person is definitely a peak-level dominator. So strong. At that moment, Han Fei's body was like a huge black hole, from the passive swallowing at first to the active swallowing now. The newly condensed great Tao spiritual bodies flew uncontrollably to Han Fei. When they flew into the air, they suddenly dispersed, turned into the origin great Tao, and were also absorbed by the golden hole. At the same time, with a crack, Han Fei's supreme bones were broken. Crack, crack, crack. Roar. As the supreme bone cracked inch by inch, Han Fei felt excruciating pain. At first, he could still roar, but later, his flesh and blood were already melting, and the supreme bone had already shattered. Only his tenacious supreme will was still showing its power. In the eyes of the 8 people on the dragon subduing island, Han Fei had completely turned into a golden hole, swallowing everything he could. The water vapor that was as heavy as stars, the endless great Tao spiritual bodies, and the supreme great Tao laws produced by the surging tide were all crazily swallowed by Han Fei. This was the sea of great Taos. There were infinite great Taos and laws. The 8 people on the dragon subduing island watched dumbfounded until more and more waves of great Taos completely enveloped the black hole, turning it into a cocoon of origin great Taos. At this moment, with a thought from Han Fei, the law of life and the law of time burst out of his body. However, after Han Fei put down this thought, the 2 laws immediately disappeared. As for strength, Han Fei didn't feel that it had changed much. He immediately looked at the demon purification pot, only to see information popping up in it. Owner, Han Fei. Level, Immortal Supreme. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, number 1. Star River Source, Power, 50 pieces. First Spiritual Beast, Twin Yin-Yang Sky Swallowing Fish, God Slaying Level. Second Spiritual Beast, Emperor Sparrow, Dominator. Main Art, God Fiend Body. Immortal? Is that how this realm is called? Han Fei wasn't surprised. Both the realm with the Tao and the Taoless realm were concepts he came up with himself, and no one could verify them for him. However, at this moment, when he reached this realm, he saw the name of this realm. He understood what the immortal meant. All things and the world would eventually decay. Only the foundation of the Tao wouldn't decay and would exist forever. However, were there only 50 pieces of Star River source power? Han Fei was puzzled. Could it be that after breaking through to the immortal level, his strength only improved by one piece of Star River source power? Han Fei frowned. There was no mistake that a casual blow of his could produce 50 pieces of Star River source power. Different from when he was at the peak of the Dominator realm. At that time, he could unleash 49 pieces of Star River source power at most, but it didn't mean that every blow could unleash 49 pieces of Star River source power. But now, in the immortal level, there was no need to deliberately attack. Even if he casually attacked, his power could reach 50 pieces of Star River source power. As for whether he could become stronger, the answer was no. Yes, after Han Fei discovered this, he immediately understood that the immortal realm should only be a transition realm above the Dominator realm. And above the immortal realm, the true Taoist realm was the key to a breakthrough in strength. Yes, at this moment, Han Fei was very sure that he hadn't reached the Taoist level, but had only reached the immortal level. He was really at the same level as the heavens, even slightly stronger. Han Fei couldn't help but look at the 8 people on the dragon subduing island who were flushed and excited. Congratulations on becoming a Dominator, fellow Taoist. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. You've completed an unprecedented feat. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. Swish. In the next moment, Han Fei appeared on the dragon subduing island and smiled. Thank you, fellow Taoists. I haven't mastered this realm yet. Therefore, I want to ask you to attack me at the same time. Ah? Fellow Taoist, this isn't good, right? Han Fei smiled. Everyone, just attack. I won't fight back. Everyone thought to themselves, you want to fight back? They haven't even reached the peak of the Dominator realm. If Han Fei fights back, he might be able to kill all 8 of them with a slap. Seeing that Han Fei was going to test the power above the Dominator level, they didn't dare to be negligent. They weren't really afraid of hurting Han Fei, because it was impossible. Among them, the strongest was only 23 pieces of Star River source power. Even if they used all their strength, they could only resist peak-level Dominators a few times at most. Another moment later, they all unleashed their strongest attack methods. In the years on the dragon subduing island, they had achieved something. They had already mastered a lot of the origin Great Tao. And their strength couldn't really be looked at with a normal gaze. Although the superimposition of the origin Great Tao couldn't give them the power of a peak-level Dominator, their combined strength was enough to shake a peak-level Dominator. Swish. 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 Boom, boom, boom. A sky-penetrating divine finger pressed down from the void, a sword light soared into the sky, and its speed reached its peak. A fist light dazzled the world, and a secret technique was superimposed on origin strength techniques. Demonic sounds vibrated, and ripples surged. Surrounded by 8 people, Han Fei stood calmly. These 8 people also wanted to see how strong the so-called Dominator above realm was, and if they could shake Han Fei. However, in the next moment, they were dumbfounded. The power they punched out was melting. All kinds of great Taos and secret techniques dissipated before they were even qualified to approach Han Fei. Without the support of their great Taos, their strength was like rootless duckweed, unable to even break Han Fei's protective barrier. I see. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Although the power he controlled didn't increase much, there was one thing that was almost unsolvable. That was the mastery of the Tao. In short, I know all the Daosh you know and all the ones you don't know. Your Dao can't hurt me, and your strength can't surpass mine. In this sea of stars, I am already invincible. The expressions of these 8 people changed drastically. How can we fight then? Fellow Daoist Han Fei. May I ask, is this the inheritance you left on the dragon-subduing island? Han Fei nodded slightly. Yes. However, don't try it before you reach the peak of the Dominator realm. A peak-level Dominator? They were excited just now and couldn't help but want to observe, but Han Fei's words chilled them. A peak-level Dominator. How many peak-level Dominators had there been in the chaotic Star Sea in all these eras? One attack from these people was enough. Han Fei had already understood the power of this realm. Although it was not the Daoless realm he wanted, Han Fei thought that it would be enough to help him return to the chaotic Star Sea. After a pause, Han Fei suddenly said, "Do you still want to continue on the path of no return?" At this moment, with a thought from Han Fei, the law of life and the law of time burst out of his body. However, after Han Fei put down this thought, the 2 laws immediately disappeared. The Tao is born from temptation, and the Tao is destroyed by peace of mind. Interesting. As for strength, Han Fei didn't feel that it had changed much. He immediately looked at the demon purification pot, only to see information popping up in it. Owner, Han Fei. Level, Immortal Supreme. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, number 1. Star River Source, Power, 50 pieces. First Spiritual Beast, Twin Yin-Yang Sky-Swallowing Fish, God-Slaying Level. Second Spiritual Beast, Emperor Sparrow, Dominator. Main Art, God-Fiend Body. Immortal? Is that how this realm is called? Han Fei wasn't surprised. Both the realm with the Tao and the Taoless realm were concepts he came up with himself, and no one could verify them for him. However, at this moment, when he reached this realm, he saw the name of this realm. He understood what the immortal meant. All things and the world would eventually decay. Only the foundation of the Tao wouldn't decay and would exist forever. However, were there only 50 pieces of Star River source power? Han Fei was puzzled. Could it be that after breaking through to the immortal level, his strength only improved by 1 piece of Star River source power? Han Fei frowned. There was no mistake that a casual blow of his could produce 50 pieces of Star River source power. Different from when he was at the peak of the Dominator realm. At that time, he could unleash 49 pieces of Star River source power at most, but it didn't mean that every blow could unleash 49 pieces of Star River source power. But now, in the immortal level, there was no need to deliberately attack. Even if he casually attacked, his power could reach 50 pieces of Star River source power. As for whether he could become stronger, the answer was no. Yes, after Han Fei discovered this, he immediately understood that the immortal realm should only be a transition realm above the Dominator realm. And above the immortal realm, the true Taoless realm was the key to a breakthrough in strength. Yes, at this moment, Han Fei was very sure that he hadn't reached the Taoless level, but had only reached the immortal level. He was really at the same level as the heavens, even slightly stronger. The number of grand development was 50, and he was now 50. He had only found one of the heavenly Tao escapes. Han Fei couldn't help but look at the 8 people on the dragon subduing island who were flushed and excited. Seeing Han Fei's gaze, the 8 of them shouted, "Congratulations on becoming a Dominator, fellow Daoist." Congratulations, fellow Taoist. You've completed an unprecedented feat. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. Swish. In the next moment, Han Fei appeared on the dragon's subduing island and smiled. Thank you, fellow Taoists. I haven't mastered this realm yet. Therefore, I want to ask you to attack me at the same time. Ah? Fellow Taoist, this isn't good, right? Han Fei smiled. Everyone, just attack. I won't fight back. Everyone thought to themselves, you want to fight back? They haven't even reached the peak of the Dominator realm. If Han Fei fights back, he might be able to kill all 8 of them with a slap. Seeing that Han Fei was going to test the power above the Dominator level, they didn't dare to be negligent. They weren't really afraid of hurting Han Fei, because it was impossible. Among them, the strongest was only 23 pieces of Star River Source power. Even if they used all their strength, they could only resist peak-level Dominators a few times at most. Another moment later, they all unleashed their strongest attack methods. In the years on the dragon subduing island, they had achieved something. They had already mastered a lot of the origin Great Tao, and their strength couldn't really be looked at with a normal gaze. Although the superimposition of the origin Great Tao couldn't give them the power of a peak-level Dominator, their combined strength was enough to shake a peak-level Dominator. Swish. 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 Boom, boom, boom. A sky-penetrating divine finger pressed down from the void, a sword light soared into the sky, and its speed reached its peak. A fist light dazzled the world, and a secret technique was superimposed on origin strength techniques. Demonic sounds vibrated, and ripples surged. Surrounded by 8 people, Han Fei stood calmly. These 8 people also wanted to see how strong the so-called Dominator above realm was, and if they could shake Han Fei. However, in the next moment, they were dumbfounded. The power they punched out was melting. All kinds of great Taos and secret techniques dissipated before they were even qualified to approach Han Fei. Without the support of their great Taos, their strength was like rootless duckweed, unable to even break Han Fei's protective barrier. I see. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Although the power he controlled didn't increase much, there was one thing that was almost unsolvable. That was the mastery of the Tao. In short, I know all the Taos you know and all the ones you don't know. Your Tao can't hurt me, and your strength can't surpass mine. In this sea of stars, I am already invincible. The expressions of these 8 people changed drastically. How is it possible? The origin Great Tao we mastered has melted. How can we fight then? Fellow Taoist Han Fei. May I ask, is this the inheritance you left on the dragon subduing island? Han Fei nodded slightly. Yes. However, don't try it before you reach the peak of the Dominator realm. A peak-level Dominator? They were excited just now and couldn't help but want to observe, but Han Fei's words chilled them. A peak-level Dominator. How many peak-level Dominators had there been in the chaotic Star Sea in all these eras? One attack from these people was enough. Han Fei had already understood the power of this realm. Although it was not the Taoless realm he wanted, Han Fei thought that it would be enough to help him return to the chaotic Star Sea. After a pause, Han Fei suddenly said, "Do you still want to continue on the path of no return?" Instantly, the 8 of them shook their heads in unison. Fellow Taoist Han Fei, can you lead us back to the chaotic Star Sea? Han Fei thought for a moment. I don't know, but I can give it a try. Han Fei was really not sure. If his estimation was correct, the great Tao tide could no longer hurt him, or it wouldn't attack him at all. However, it was hard to say for the others. It would be fine if they returned to the dam, but he couldn't guarantee that they could board it. However, if he could take them back to the chaotic star sea, it could greatly increase the strength of the chaotic star sea. Although these people hadn't reached the peak of the Dominator realm, they had been on the dragon subduing island for countless years. It wasn't easy for them to survive the great Tao tide. Besides, they had been cultivating in seclusion for so long and had mastered several origin great Taos. To put it bluntly, with the strength they had just shown, they might be able to stop two ominous creatures at the peak of the Dominator realm for years. Han Fei said, in that case, there's no time to lose. The chaotic star sea is in great danger. I have to return quickly. They were overjoyed. In the chaotic star sea, even if they couldn't continue to improve their strength, so what? The sea of stars was so big. It would definitely be better than this remote and desolate dragon subduing island. With that, Han Fei had already stepped out, and the 8 people from the dragon subduing island followed closely behind. However, even if the great Tao tide here no longer attacked Han Fei, it would still attack the other 8. Therefore, the great Tao tide turned into spiritual bodies again. However, with a wave of Han Fei's hand, 7 or 8 great Tao spiritual bodies dissipated on the spot. After all, they were not peak-level dominators. Before, they could barely stop Han Fei, but now, it was completely impossible. With Han Fei as their backer, they traveled smoothly and arrived at the dam in a moment. Sure enough, at the immortal level, I become stronger in all aspects. It took me a day to go from the dam to dragon subduing island. Now, it only takes me 3/4 of an hour, and I'm taking 8 people with me. The difference is obvious. Faced with the dam, only the last great Tao tsunami was the most terrifying. Han Fei's only problem was to take 8 people with him. He had to rely on his control of the great Tao to take these 8 people through the great Tao tsunami. At this moment, what they relied on was no longer strength, but Tao. They were nervous, and a man among them said, "Fellow Taoist Han Fei, we know that it's difficult to go back, and we once saw big waves drowning our companions. Will there still be such waves?" "Waves? Then you are indeed very far away." Han Fei smiled. "Follow me closely. Stay within 10 feet of me, or I won't be able to protect you." They didn't dare to be negligent and quickly approached Han Fei. Han Fei, on the other hand, was not fast. The moment he tried to land on the dam, countless powerful techniques attacked him again. Fist light, knife light, sword chi, finger marks, arrow streams, palm prints. All kinds of destructive techniques poured down. Han Fei's eyes were firm. He could see all the techniques when they were 1,000 feet away from him, and these powers would collapse in an instant and transform into the great Tao. Again. Behind Han Fei, the 8 people were horrified. This was the first time they had faced a dam head-on. The moment they saw so many terrifying powers descend, to be honest, their hearts turned cold. With such a terrifying power, even if the 8 of them worked together, they probably wouldn't be able to withstand 10 seconds before being killed on the spot. They wouldn't even have a chance to retreat. However, Han Fei could withstand the overwhelming divine techniques alone, which was completely beyond their understanding. However, Han Fei suddenly roared, "Everyone, be careful." Walala. The terrifying great Tao tide turned into huge waves and then into a tsunami. If Han Fei weren't here, these people would have felt despair. This? How can human strength stop it? It was no wonder that they had this illusion. When Han Fei faced this tsunami, back then, he was also shocked. Just once, the creation mystic Yellow Tower collapsed, and his invincible body couldn't resist it at all. If he hadn't mastered the law of life, that wave would definitely have seriously injured him. Bang! The furious waves surged and the tsunami pounced. The monstrous tide drowned Han Fei and the others in an instant. In front of Han Fei, countless great Daos were impacting and collapsing. And Han Fei's resistance range fell from 1,000 feet to 10 feet. Han Fei didn't say anything. Under such power, the Star River source power was useless. All he could do was to wait and shatter this charging great Tao with all his heart. But after waiting for more than 10 seconds, the tsunami still didn't stop. Han Fei immediately realized that he had to go forward. "Everyone, follow me." Han Fei raised his hands flat. In front of him, Tao techniques were invincible. The tsunami flowed around him. The whistling sound resounded in his ears, but just the Tao sound that seeped in had already made the 7 orifices of the 8 people behind Han Fei bleed. Even their bodies cracked to varying degrees. How can this great Tao tsunami last so long? It's as if this wave can't pass at all. Not good, fellow Taoist Han Fei, we don't seem to be able to carry such Tao sounds. Han Fei frowned. Hold on a little longer. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Finally, after Han Fei took 30 steps in the tsunami of the great Tao, the flesh and blood of the 8 people behind him melted to varying degrees. Han Fei said, "Even if your flesh and blood dissipate or even your bones melt, as long as your will is not destroyed and your divine persona exists, once we reach the chaotic star sea, I can revive you." Han Fei didn't have to take these people back. He just wanted to see if he could lead them back to the chaotic star sea. Whether he could or not made a great difference. He had a feeling that he would come back eventually. At that time, would he return alone or leave with his men? Although he didn't know, it was necessary to try now. Even if he failed several times, it would be worth it if he could bring these people back to the dragon-subduing island. After Han Fei took 37 steps in a row, there were only 8 shining bones left behind him. After Han Fei took 42 steps, someone's dominator bone shattered. Fortunately, the divine persona was still there. After Han Fei took 49 steps, 2 more dominator bones shattered, leaving only divine personas. And Han Fei seemed to have discovered something. The road of the dam had a total of 50 steps, which secretly conformed to the heavenly Tao. Open. Crack. Buzz. After Han Fei took 50 steps, everything was calm in front of him. He looked back and found that he was standing on the dam again. However, there were only 2 people behind him who could barely maintain the dominator bones, and their bones were already full of cracks. "Are we back?" "I'm finally back. I didn't expect Nanfeng Liuxue, to return one day." The 2 of them were so excited that they had completely forgotten their current state and appearance. If their bodies were still there, they would probably be in tears. Even Han Fei was overjoyed. He had returned. He had broken the rule that he couldn't go back. At this moment, except for the 2 skeletons, they had all turned into divine Personas. With a thought from Han Fei, the law of life swept across the two people and the 6 divine personas. Although Han Fei could bring them back, it would take a certain amount of time and resources to revive them. It could be seen that even if he exceeded the Dominator realm, it would be very difficult for him to bring them back from the path of no return. And these 8 people were all Dominator-level powerhouses, old monsters who had lived for countless years. If it were an ordinary Dominator, he might have been directly annihilated by the Tao sounds of the tsunami. While healing these people's bodies, Han Fei looked at the sky and felt that the will of the world entered his heart. He felt that he seemed to be able to feel the entire chaotic star sea with a thought. However, his expression immediately turned ugly. Is it too late? It's only 4 days. Han Fei said that because he didn't see senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead here. Han Fei didn't need to guess where senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead went. They must be in the primordial star sea, but he didn't know how they got there. Besides, judging from the current situation of the sea realm, it was completely different from a few days ago. The current battle was almost white hot. A few days ago, the sea realm was still protected by the chaotic sea of fire, but now, the chaotic ice domain and the chaotic thunder domain erupted. At the same time, the death god was fighting fiercely to stop a peak-level Dominator level. Ominous. As for the others, there were more than 300 Dominator-level ominous creatures guiding the ominous mist to corrode the 2 divine realms of the sea realm. Sea realm. On the periphery, the shattered star sea had already been in a mess. In the past few days, there had been scenes of large stars falling non-stop. However, this spectacle was not a good thing. Instead, a large number of stars in the shattered star sea had been pierced through and blasted down. The dense ominous army, billions of them, was pressing forward step by step. If it weren't for the fact that there were many undead creatures in the immortal temple, these creatures might have surrounded the sea realm. At this moment, countless Dominator-level ominous creatures were attacking the Guardian Divine Realm while shouting, trying to quell the army of the myriad races. A Dominator ominous creature shouted, "Let go. You will die in the end. No one in the entire chaotic star sea can save the myriad races. Human. Emperor Han Fei has been trapped on the path of no return. The strongest person in the Void Temple, Shenlu, has been suppressed by our master. The Master of Time of the Time Temple has also been suppressed by our master. Your struggle is meaningless. The Immortal Temple can't last long. It's just the divine realms. When Master returns, even if all the divine realms of the sea realm are opened, you guys won't be a match for Master. What's wrong with becoming ominous? You will coexist with the heavens and earth when you become ominous." Such shouts kept ringing. Their only purpose might be to shake the morale of the army. On the battlefield, the strong masters of the myriad races naturally didn't believe these ominous creatures' nonsense. However, the other party repeated it over and over again. Not to mention the countless creatures living in the sea realm, even the brave ones couldn't help but feel a little pessimistic at this moment. And these negative aspects were one of the sources of ominous power. Someone sighed. "Are we going to die in the end?" Someone heaved a long sigh. "I thought that the human emperor would be able to kill the ominous after he returned, but in the end, I'm afraid he's still no match for the ominous. It's indeed been a long time since I saw the strongest powerhouses of the Void Temple. I didn't see them the moment the chaotic sea of fire was broken through. Are they really suppressed? That's bulls asterisk it. A bunch of useless people who scare themselves. The war is still going on. We can still fight. Beside Han Chani, Zhang Panpan and the others responded angrily while fighting fiercely. Someone sneered. I'm telling the truth. If Human Emperor and the others were still here, why aren't they here at this moment? You said we're scaring ourselves? Don't think we don't know that the shattered star sea is about to fall. The immortal temple is about to lose to the ominous. Han Chani shouted angrily, anyway, the Human Emperor will definitely return. He promised me that himself. Promise you personally? Who do you think you are? How can a figure like the Human Emperor know you? Besides, with the Human Emperor's character, if he could return, he would have come back long ago. You. Toot. Han Chani was about to flare up when a deafening horn suddenly sounded in the sky above the 5 divine realms of the sea realm. Countless people's expressions changed when they heard that. Not good. It's the ominous charge horn. The ominous tide is coming. In the next moment, a divine voice spread throughout the sea realm. The outer domain of the central sea divine realm is about to welcome an ominous tide. Everyone, take relevant defensive measures. It's best if you find secret realm caves, defense spiritual treasures, cultivation caves, and so on, to temporarily stay in. In the next moment, the voice sounded again, order, all cultivators above the monarch realm, come through the teleportation arrays of the 5 divine realms. Buzz. In the free city, the settlement of the human race, and now the center of the central sea divine realm, thousands of barrier arrays appeared in the city. These were all arrays set up by the founders of the free city. The residents of the city were a little panicked. Someone exclaimed, it's only been 3 days. 3 days ago, the ominous tide launched and broke through the chaotic sea of fire. A shocking power fell on the divine capital dynasty. It said that even the dynasty array of the divine capital dynasty was destroyed. Just the aftershock killed billions of people. Someone's face turned pale. How can it be so fast? In just 3 days, why is there a second ominous tide? Someone panicked. It's over, it's over. We're itinerant cultivators and haven't joined any sections. Can the protective barrier of the free city withstand it? At this moment, in the city, a voice sounded from the direction of the Thug Academy. In the face of crisis, all creatures of the myriad races should suffer together. The Thug Academy can open the gate of the Academy and provide shelter for everyone. Walala. In the place where the Thug Academy was, a huge tree that towered into the sky soared thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye. The Thug Academy is honorable, as expected of the strongest academy of the human race. A place that can give birth to a figure like the Human Emperor is indeed extraordinary. It's not something some small sects can compare to. Let's go quickly. That divine tree looks majestic and extraordinary. It must be an extraordinary super barrier. In the free city, countless people saw this and ran away. At the same time, the major sects and forces in the city followed closely behind. The divine capital dynasty can offer shelter for you. The Phoenix divine race can offer shelter for you. The East Sword Pavilion can offer shelter for you. While everyone was preparing, Lei Heng, Feng Yu, and the others had already arrived in the Central Sea Divine Realm. They had no choice. Their manpower was limited. In recent days, the ominous army seemed to be on drugs and attacked crazily, not caring how many ominous creatures were sacrificed. It could be said that the chaotic sea of fire was forcibly extinguished by the ominous army with their own bodies. Now, only 3 days had passed, and the ominous tide came again. Don't forget, there were still more than 300 Dominator-level ominous creatures outside the sea realm. As a result, almost all the powerhouses who had stepped into the Dominator realm were restrained and couldn't come over. They could only rely on the divine realm itself to resist them. They summoned Lei Heng and Feng Yu back under great pressure. Even Senior Brother Six God was not free, because the insect army was large and needed someone to control it. Only Lei Heng was extremely fast. He could turn into a vast sea of lightning alone and barely guard this place. As for Feng Yu, after 10,000 years of cultivation and battle, she finally followed closely behind and advanced to the sea-quelling god level. At this moment, summoning her to support was also a special form of protection for her. This was because compared to fighting the ominous tide attacking the central sea divine realm, the other battles outside were equally terrifying. Swish, swish. Han Chani's eyes lit up when she saw Lei Heng and Feng Yu. Uncle Lei Heng. Aunt Feng Yu. Seeing Han Chani rush over, Lei Heng felt a headache, but he said with a smile, have you been guarding here? Han Chani said, yes. Pan Pan, Xiao Xiao, and I have been outside the central sea divine realm. However, you are too busy. I haven't seen you at all these days. By the way, Uncle Lei Heng, how is my father now? Well, Lei Heng said solemnly, your father is fighting. As you know, his enemies are stronger than ours. Han Chani was immediately relieved, and her eyes were filled with surprise and joy. Those Dominator-level ominous creatures said that my father was trapped on the path of no return and couldn't return. They must be lying. Right? Lei Heng's heart sank. In fact, Shenlu had already told them about what happened to Han Fei. But how should he tell Han Chani about this? Not long after he said that, senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead disappeared together. He couldn't even contact them with the void mark. Feng Yu snorted and said, don't listen to the ominous nonsense. Your father is only fighting the ominous on the path of no return. You should know that the eldest senior brother of the Void Temple has been fighting the ominous for 1,000 years, right? At their level, it's difficult for them to die even if they want to. Besides, your father is the human emperor. How can he abandon the human race and enter the path of no return with the ominous? I knew it. Han Chani was furious. I knew that those Dominator-level ominous creatures were very bad. They're all liars. Feng Yu said, it's good that you know. Okay, the ominous tide is about to come. Your uncle Lei Heng and I are going to enter the chaotic ice domain. First. Remember, don't approach it. Don't forcibly block the aftershock. Okay, Aunt Feng Yu. In the chaotic ice domain, Lei Heng sighed. Little junior sister, are we going to keep this a secret forever? Feng Yu said, senior brother, we don't know how many days the sea realm can exist. We have to give Yi something to look forward to. At that time, if the sea realm is annihilated, it doesn't matter if we keep it a secret to her, or not. Outside the sea realm, it was covered by ice. Further out, the shattered star sea stretched out. The shattered star sea itself couldn't resist the ominous army, but there were a large number of undead creatures and creatures of the myriad races in the shattered star sea, which was why it had been in a stalemate with the ominous. However, this persistence had lasted for too long. After several eras, although the immortal temple had accumulated countless undead creatures, the ominous had also been dormant for several eras, producing more and more ominous creatures. At this moment, in the outer domain of the Central Sea Divine Realm, a passage was rushed out of the shattered star sea with a bang. Immediately afterward, countless ominous creatures smashed into the chaotic ice domain like raindrops. They were so fast that they arrived in an instant. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, millions of ominous creatures rushed into the chaotic ice domain. Ka ka ka. However, the moment these ominous creatures entered the chaotic ice domain, they were instantly frozen into ice and then exploded, only exploding into an ominous mist. However, the ominous mist was quickly enveloped by the extremely cold power of the chaotic ice domain and then purified by the power of the chaotic ice domain. And purifying this ominous creature, the extreme cold power in the chaotic ice domain would also dissipate a little bit. Although it was almost imperceptible, this was only one ominous creature. When hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions, or even tens of billions of ominous creatures launched this kind of suicide charge at the same time, it would be different. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of ominous creatures were annihilated by the chaotic ice domain, but the layers of ice were also slightly damaged. Another moment later, 1,000,000, 10,000,000. More and more ominous creatures rushed forward fearlessly. It was as if it had suddenly rained on a snowy land. The raindrops were very subtle, but every drop of rain could melt some ice and snow. After about an hour, a gap was chiseled open in the chaotic ice domain. Although the chaotic ice domain had the ability to repair itself, it was difficult to quickly heal this huge gap that was chiseled through by the ominous. At this moment, Lei Heng and Feng Yu finally took action. Rumble. Hula. The lightning domain, the sea of fire, and the extreme cold intertwined, forcibly blocking this gap. After all, two sea-quelling gods had taken action. And Lei Heng was an extremely powerful sea-quelling god who controlled the lightning domain. Therefore, to the ominous, Lei Heng was almost equivalent to a dominator. However, the ominous creatures were not stupid. They certainly couldn't just let Lei Heng and Feng Yu block the ominous tide that they had spent so much effort to create. Therefore, the moment Lei Heng and Feng Yu attacked, 12 dominator level ominous creatures immediately rushed over along with the ominous tide. Seeing this, Lei Heng immediately shouted, "Little junior sister, attack." Upon hearing this, an ice-blue divine bead immediately appeared in Feng Yu's hand. This was the divine bead that controlled the chaotic ice domain. As soon as this bead appeared, it could mobilize the power of the chaotic ice domain. In the blink of an eye, the power of the chaotic ice domain quickly gathered and filled the gap. And the 12 dominator-level ominous creatures were still charging. A dominator shouted ominously, "Do you know why only 12 of us came? Because the current chaotic ice domain is different from the previous one. The current chaotic ice domain has exhausted too much power." Puff. 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 For a moment, the power of the 12 dominators was suppressed by more than 50% by the chaotic ice domain, but they didn't care. At the same time, a tremendous amount of extremely cold airflow began to spread out from the chaotic ice domain, trying to sweep away these 12 Dominator-level ominous creatures. However, Dominator-level ominous creatures were not to be trifled with. The surging ominous mist of these 12 people worked together and barely blocked the invasion of this wave of extremely cold air. However, as a variable, Leiheng attacked consecutively. Endless lightning and fire burned in the gap at the same time. Besides, Leiheng also turned into the thunder god Dharma idol and began to attack. 20 minutes. Half an hour passed. 2 hours. After fighting for more than 6 hours, the gap in this chaotic ice domain was broken through by the ominous tide 3 times in a row. However, only 3 Dominator-level ominous creatures had been purified by the extreme cold power of the chaotic ice domain. The other 9 had suffered varying degrees of damage, but they were basically intact. Crack. Feng Yu's expression suddenly changed drastically. Senior brother Leiheng. The chaotic ice domain is not very efficient at killing dominators. Feng Yu had tried her best, but the chaotic ice domain wasn't specifically targeted at Dominator-level ominous creatures in the first place. Furthermore, in the primordial era, the chaotic ice domain and the chaotic sea of fire had all been activated. At that time, a chaotic sea of fire could burn the primordial era, and a lightning domain could stop the endless ominous for thousands of years. The chaotic ice domain was mainly a defensive divine domain, famous for being easy to defend but difficult to attack. Therefore, even if the chaotic ice domain could kill a Dominator-level ominous creature, there was still a limit. Leiheng said, "There's nothing we can do, but it's easy to defend but difficult to attack. Let's cooperate and hold on first." 8 hours later. Even though the Dominator-level ominous creatures were heavily injured under the suppression of the chaotic ice domain, Leiheng was only a sea-quelling god after all. Although his strength was invincible, he was still lacking in the realm. Even if he used all his strength, he could only kill 1 Dominator-level ominous creature with the help of the chaotic ice domain. However, there were still 8 of the 12 Dominator-level ominous creatures left. However, Leiheng and Feng Yu couldn't fight anymore. This was because in the end, he and Feng Yu were just keeping the ominous in check. What really killed these dominators was the chaotic ice domain. At this moment, the chaotic ice domain had been dug open countless times. The biggest characteristic of the ominous tide was that it was endless. Leiheng and Feng Yu were both a little weak at this moment. There were too many enemies and they were too strong. If this went on, the ominous could eventually penetrate the chaotic ice domain. Once the chaotic ice domain was penetrated, the sea realm was also in danger. Feng Yu asked, "Senior brother Leiheng, should we ask for reinforcements?" "No." Leiheng shouted in a low voice, "Their side is much more miserable than ours. All the dominators are there. As many as 100 Dominator-level ominous creatures have participated. Countless god-slaying level powerhouses have been involved. If it weren't for the chaotic thunder domain continuously resisting the impact, their side should have long been defeated." Feng Yu asked, "Then what should we do?" "Unless we detonate the divine realm." Leiheng panted heavily. "Of course not. The reason why the Dominator level ominous haven't all been deployed is that they are afraid that we will do something with the divine realm itself. Otherwise, if hundreds of Dominator level ominous attack together, no matter how strong the divine realm is, it won't be able to resist them." Rumble. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, great Tao cracks stretched across the sea of stars, and the heavenly Tao death knell sounded one after another. This meant that a top powerhouse of the human race had died. Lei Heng's expression changed. It's the death of a dominator. Feng Yu's expression changed drastically. What? Has it reached this point? In the chaotic ice domain, a dominator said ominously, someone has died. Which means that the other side is completely restrained. It's about time. Let's begin. As he spoke, the 8 dominator-level ominous creatures that were fighting fiercely in the chaotic ice domain retreated at the same time and retreated from the chaotic ice domain. Huh? Retreat? Why? Feng Yu said, something seems to be wrong. The ominous has already sacrificed so much. It definitely won't give up for no reason. Sure enough, in the next moment, the overwhelming ominous creatures attacked the gap of the chaotic ice domain again. At the same time, another channel appeared in the shattered star sea, but this time, it wasn't the ominous creatures pouring down from the shattered star sea, from the endless ominous mist, a black ship was extremely huge. Compared to it, the stars were only worthy of being a light on the hull. At the front of the hull was the skull of an unknown creature, like some kind of single-horned star giant beast. This hull was pushed forward by a massive amount of ominous mist, heading straight for Lei Heng and Feng Yu. Shoot. Lei Heng cursed, is this a ship? Feng Yu opened her mouth. Well, it's ramming over. Senior brother, retreat. Lei Heng and Feng Yu immediately retreated. Both of them were a little stunned. This ship was going to hit the sea realm? At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield, senior brother Azure Dragon, 5th senior brother, the old dragon god, and the other strong masters were all restrained here. There were nearly 100 dominator-level ominous creatures here. They were tied down here and couldn't help Lei Heng and the others at all. At this moment, 5th senior brother immediately shouted in a low voice, not good. That's the ominous ice-breaking ship. That's why the chaotic ice domain didn't make any contributions in the primordial era. We've been tricked. This is an ominous scheme. The other party deliberately used hundreds of dominators and a large number of god-slaying level powerhouses to hold us here. In fact, they're attacking the chaotic ice domain at the same time. If we leave, this battle line will collapse, and some dominator-level ominous will have a chance to forcibly cross the chaotic thunder domain. If we don't go to support the chaotic ice domain, the other party only needs to send a small number of strong masters to attack the chaotic ice domain. Once something happens in the chaotic ice domain, Lei Heng and Feng Yu won't be able to resist it. Our last resort is to detonate the divine realms to quell this war. Therefore, the ominous is forcing us to detonate the 2 divine realms at once. Senior brother Azure Dragon's expression was ugly. Such a huge ice-breaking ship. The other party has invested a lot. The ancient dragon god shouted, why didn't you tell me earlier that there was such a thing? 5th senior brother said, the ominous attacks these days are too fast, and this thing has only appeared once in history and has been used up. I didn't know there was a second ship. Now I suspect that this ship was very likely built by the ominous itself. Upon hearing this, everyone couldn't help but feel a little desperate. Is the ominous crazy? If these 2 divine realms really explode, I'm afraid there are only a handful of people who can escape. And the nearly 100 dominator Level ominous creatures that came to restrain us will probably be wiped out. If Han Fei were here, he would understand the ominous behavior very well. In order to descend into the chaotic star sea, he had personally seen the ominous sacrifice 1,203 Dominator-level ominous creatures. Therefore, what was the big deal of sacrificing hundreds of Dominator-level ominous creatures? In short, this was because the myriad races were desperately outnumbered by the ominous. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although Han Fei had almost killed all the other party's peak-level dominators, there was still one who wasn't dead. And this was the biggest problem. At this moment, anyone above the god-slaying level could feel that something was wrong in the chaotic ice domain. In the chaotic thunder domain, Xia Xiaochan shouted, "Fatty, Zhang Xuanyu, I'm going to the chaotic ice domain. You stay here." Zhang Xuanyu immediately spat. "I'm going too. Pan Pan and Yi are both in the chaotic ice domain." Lu Renquang said, "If you two go, how can I stay here?" Xia Xiaochan and Zhang Xuanyu deliberately left Han Chani and the others in the chaotic ice domain. Because the attack of the chaotic thunder domain was too ferocious, almost all the strong masters of the myriad races and all their supreme nature treasures were still no match for it. And the chaotic ice domain was easy to defend but difficult to attack. After the chaotic fire domain was easily destroyed by the ominous, in just 2 days, the power of the chaotic thunder domain was weakened by the suicidal charge of countless ominous creatures. In just a few days, more than 500 strong masters of the myriad races had died. If it weren't for the high-end combat power of the chaotic thunder domain and the time temple, all the strong masters of the myriad races would have been killed. Although there were still many dominators on the ominous side, some of them were restrained by the death god, and some reserved their strength and didn't attack. The reason why they reserved their strength was that they were afraid that the myriad races would detonate their divine domains and wipe out all the ominous powerhouses at once. Furthermore, they seemed to know that there were other divine domains behind the chaotic ice domain and the chaotic thunder domain. So it was clearly impossible for them to release all the dominator-level ominous powerhouses at once. Senior Brother Azure Dragon and the others' defense of the chaotic ice domain was so simple, and they only sent Lei Heng and Shenlu over purely because the chaotic ice domain was easier to defend than the chaotic thunder domain and could repair itself. In their opinion, it was actually more difficult to break the chaotic ice domain. However, who could have expected that the ominous had a way to break through the chaotic ice domain? Puff. A cross-shaped light knife instantly cut through the 3 god-slaying level ominous creatures besieging Xia Xiaochan. The flames of purification burned and purified the 3 god-slaying level ominous creatures in the blink of an eye. Shiman Linglan held 2 knives in her hands and stood proudly. "It's useless. Even if you go, I'll go." Xia Xiaochan took a deep look at Shiman Linglan and gritted her teeth. "I'll leave Yi and the others to you. Take them back to the sea realm." Xia Xiaochan was not stupid. The 3 of them were only at the god-slaying level. Even if they went to the chaotic ice domain, they could only die with Han Chani and the others. But Shiman Linglan was different. She had mastered the 6 divine time techniques, and her combat power was almost comparable to that of a dominator. If she used the time sky sealing lock, she might be able to protect Han Chani and the others. Boom. As soon as Xia Xiaochan said so, Shiman Linglan had already disappeared. It was also at this moment that the black ice-breaking ship hit the chaotic ice domain in one fell swoop. With countless cracking sounds, the chaotic ice domain was naturally shattered. However, because of the obstruction of the chaotic ice domain, the entire hull of the ominous giant ship was pushed by infinite power. At first, it broke through the ice in the chaotic ice domain, and the billions of years of extreme cold and freezing failed to stop it. At the same time, a large amount of ominous mist spewed out of the hull, as if it was not afraid of the law of extreme cold. Lightning tide shakes the world. Phoenix feather cover the sun. Lei Heng and Fengyu both erupted, but the surging lightning tide was broken under the ice-breaking ship and couldn't even withstand a second. Instead, Lei Heng was seriously injured and sent flying back. Fengyu's feather shot across the sky, but it was instantly bent by the ice breaking ship, bent to the extreme and shattered. Puff. Fengyu's blood splashed across the sky, and then she followed in Lei Heng's footsteps. However, although Lei Heng and Fengyu failed to stop the ice-breaking ship, the chaotic ice domain was ranked among the 7 divine realms and had once suppressed the wasteland of the East Sea Divine Realm, so its reputation was not unearned. This ice-breaking ship struggled to move halfway through the chaotic ice domain before it was stuck in the chaotic ice domain, unable to move. Seeing this, Lei Heng and Fengyu were relieved. Fengyu pointed at the ice-breaking ship and shouted angrily, "Be *starred ship. Keep being arrogant if you have what it takes." However, in the next second, a tremendous amount of ominous mist spewed out of the huge ship at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it spread out, as if it was about to fill the holes in the chaotic ice domain. Lei Heng was lost for words. "Little junior sister, there are only 2 of us. Don't provoke them." Fengyu was also dumbfounded. "Well, I'm just saying." At this moment, the huge black ship trembled. The law here was no longer stable, and the law of extreme cold seemed to have been challenged. Lei Heng and Fengyu looked at each other and immediately shouted, "Run! Rumble!" In the blink of an eye, a violent explosion blasted a huge hole in the chaotic ice domain. The moment the rumbling shook, Han Yi and the others, who were closest to the chaotic ice domain, were already prepared. However, the impact of this power was too strong. The nearly 100 gods in the lead roared at the same time and tried their best to block this energy impact. Swish, swish. At that moment, everyone saw 2 shadows falling from the sky of the sea of stars. A divine phoenix had lost nearly half of its feathers, one of its wings was broken, and 3 circles of flames revolved around its body. At this moment, it was also full of cracks. The other was a bronze cauldron with thunder rumbling inside. The bronze cauldron was also full of cracks. Knock. Knock. With 2 consecutive bangs, something smashed into the seal barrier formed by hundreds of gods. Puff. 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 For a moment, nearly half of the gods vomited blood. However, not only that, there was also a terrifying energy impacting down from the chaotic ice domain. This energy contained many great Tao laws and was mixed with a large amount of star river source power. Under such a violent force, the seal barrier of hundreds of gods immediately couldn't withstand it. With continuous cracking sounds, the sealing barrier was instantly full of cracks. "Everyone, hold on!" someone shouted and spared no effort to unleash his full strength. However, even so, it only lasted for less than 3 seconds before the barrier shattered with a bang. Fortunately, Lei Heng had recovered in time. He held a bronze cauldron in his hand and burst out boundless lightning, blocking the terrifying energy impact. Immediately afterward, Feng Yu had recovered and hurriedly followed him. At this moment, she said in shock, "This power is too strong." Not only did it penetrate the chaotic ice domain, but it also shattered the 100-god sky locking array. In the end, you still had to use a supreme nature treasure to resist it. Lei Heng said, "That should be an attack, condensed after the ominous aura was infinitely compressed. Its purpose is to penetrate the chaotic ice domain. Now that the chaotic ice domain has been penetrated, the ominous won't give us a chance to fight back. It seems that we can only use the chaotic sand sea." Buzz, buzz. At that moment, countless ominous creatures crawled out of the cracks of the chaotic ice domain. The first to bear the brunt were the 8 Dominator level ominous creatures. "Oh no!" Feng Yu immediately shouted, "Everyone, retreat to the second line of defense." In the plans of the strong masters of the sea realm, the chaotic sand sea and the world tree were the last barriers of the sea realm. Once it involved the use of the chaotic sand sea, it meant that the enemy was almost unstoppable. Swish! 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 However, the Dominator-level ominous wouldn't give the strong masters of the myriad races a chance to escape. In an environment that wasn't the chaotic ice domain, they only needed one person to keep Lei Heng and Feng Yu in check. And there were 8 of them here, so it was almost impossible to leave at this moment. Previously, no one had expected the ominous to break through the chaotic ice domain so quickly. In theory, even in the face of such a terrifying ominous tide, the chaotic ice domain could last for many years. It was impossible for it to be broken through in a moment. But now, the myriad races seemed to have completely underestimated the ominous power and the number of ominous creatures. The moment the chaotic ice domain was penetrated, the sky above the entire sea realm rumbled, and a strange color seemed to appear between the heavens and earth, like rolling thunder, scaring countless people. Countless people looked up at the sky in horror and anxiety. Will the ominous really invade the sea realm? What should we do? So the strong masters of the myriad races can't resist the ominous in the end? Hold on. Some were afraid, some were desperate, some were hoping fervently, some were praying, some were cheering for their superiors, and some were thinking about what they should do if they only had one day left. At this moment, ordinary people were confused and lucky, because they had never seen a real enemy, nor did they know what they would face in the next moment. At this moment, Lei Heng, Feng Yu, and the strong masters of the myriad races guarding under the chaotic ice domain were in despair. The ominous had never been merciful. If they were given a chance, they would corrode everyone present, no matter who you were or what your identity was. Therefore, the moment those Dominator-level ominous creatures appeared, they immediately launched a fierce attack on all the strong masters of the myriad races. The billowing ominous mist covered the sky and swept over. At that moment, Lei Heng and Feng Yu both knew that they had nowhere to run. And Lei Heng roared, "Chaotic, sand!" Bang! Suddenly, before Lei Heng finished shouting, a time tide surged here, and a time-sealing skylock condensed. The ominous mist was temporarily blocked. Lei Heng was overjoyed. He thought that reinforcements had arrived, but there was only a valiant woman. Huh? Sister-in-law, only you here? Feng Yu was speechless. Are you crazy? Shiman Linglan, this is a dire situation. Why did you come here? Feng Yu, on the other hand, looked at Han Chani, who was guarding the rear of the army. Their eyes met for only a moment before Shiman Linglan retracted her gaze and said indifferently, the chaotic ice domain can still be saved. Huh? In the next moment, Shiman Linglan pushed the huge hole in the chaotic ice domain and said solemnly, because I still have a void. Swish. A void power was slapped out of Shiman Linglan's palm. The void encompassed darkness and swallowed the ominous mist that was about to extend, was swept away by this invisible and strange power. Seeing this, the 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures suddenly retreated, looking as if they wished they had 8 legs. Lei Heng laughed. Great. If you have the ability, keep being arrogant. How? Can you break my eldest senior brother's void power? Today, you'll have to fill it with at least 1 star river of ominous mist. Outside the current sea realm, in a star river, how many ominous creatures were there? No one expected that Shiman Linglan still had the power of the void in her hand. Before eldest senior brother left, he left some for senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead. However, in the endless battles, this consumable void power had long been used up. After all, this thing was only for temporary life-saving purposes, and eldest senior brother couldn't give Shiman Linglan much. Giving her a piece actually consumed a portion of his strength. Therefore, as soon as the power of the void appeared, Lei Heng and Shenlu both heaved a long sigh of relief. However, after this void appeared, the 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures only retreated to the crack of the chaotic ice domain before stopping and not continuing to escape. The power of the void didn't spread as fast as imagined, just like in the creation star compass, so there was still time for them to react. This behavior of the ominous stunned Shiman Linglan and the others. Are you looking for death? Lei Heng was still puzzled. However, among the 8 of them, a Dominator-level ominous walked out and said calmly, sure enough, you still have some trump cards. What a pity. I originally wanted to use them on the chaotic sand sea, but now I have to use them on you. The ominous hand took out a small bottle. He opened the bottle without hesitation and sneered. If it's just a piece of void, half a bottle is enough. The extra. Welcome to joining us, ha ha ha. Clatter. As the bottle was poured out, a large amount of ominous matter quickly disappeared into the void. And the void power that Shiman Linglan punched out suddenly stopped and began to disintegrate on the spot. Feng Wu glared at Lei Heng. You jinx, what you said has come true. Run. However, the ominous matter was at the peak of the Dominator level. Even Shen Lu couldn't stop an ominous creature from swallowing the ominous matter. Now, how could Lei Heng and the others escape the spreading speed of the ominous matter? Shiman Linglan disappeared in an instant, grabbed Han Chani, and was about to run towards the sea realm. But even someone as strong as Shiman Linglan wasn't a dominator yet, so her speed wasn't that fast. As soon as she came to Han Chani, she was caught up and contaminated by the ominous matter. Feng Yu and Lei Heng were also contaminated. Obviously, the ominous matter targeted people too. After all, this thing was conscious. At this moment, the moment he was contaminated by the ominous matter, Lei Heng had already taken out the divine bead that represented the chaotic sand sea. But his speed was still a little slow. Damn it. Lei Heng cursed and was about to release the chaotic sand sea, but in the next second, the chaotic sand sea didn't appear. Lei Heng, Shiman Linglan, Feng Yu, and even the Dominator-level ominous were all stunned. However, Lei Heng immediately roared, F***CK, where's my chaotic San-Si? Puff. 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 As soon as Lei Heng said so, 3 green vines suddenly drilled out of Lei Heng, Shiman Linglan, and Feng Yu's bodies. As for the ominous matter, it had already dispersed, preparing to infect everyone here. However, they suddenly stopped here as if someone had pressed a pause. Immediately afterward, a gentle voice sounded here, Senior brother, you'd better keep the chaotic San-Si. Han Chani felt that the voice was right beside her ears. She suddenly turned around, only to see Han Fei standing beside her with a smile. Dad? Han Chani's eyes widened with joy. The situation here was changing rapidly. A moment ago, she thought she was going to die. How could she have expected Han Fei to appear beside her at this moment? Han Fei rubbed Han Chani's head and then looked at Shiman Linglan. Does it hurt? Shiman Linglan's lips curled into a rare warm smile. Yes. Alas. That's a serious problem. Chapter 3671, the 4th level of the Path of Invincibility, Mastering the Chaos, 1. Impossible. The 8 ominous creatures were all shocked. You've already been trapped on the path of no return. How can you still return? Even Lei Heng and Feng Yu were extremely shocked and surprised. Senior sister. Shunlu saw with her own eyes that little junior brother was dragged into the path of no return. How could it be fake? These words puzzled Shiman Linglan and Han Chani. Earlier, the ominous said that Han Fei fell onto the path of no return, which could be said to be shaking the morale of the army. But now, Han Fei had already appeared. Why did they still say that? Although Han Chani knew that the path of no return was terrifying, she had never seen it. However, unlike Han Chani, Shiman Linglan had seen the path of no return. Others didn't know the path of no return, but she knew it. She couldn't help but look at Han Fei with lingering fear. If this was true, did it mean that they would almost never see each other again? Han Fei smiled. Why can I come back? Do I have to tell you? Die. At that moment, the 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures immediately turned around and wanted to run. Come on, how could they shake Han Fei? They were not stupid. Of course they had to run. However, their bodies seemed to be frozen, as if even that space and that world were imprisoned. All laws were no longer under their control, and their bodies seemed to be clasped by billions of threads. Han Fei waved his hand, and a knife light appeared out of thin air. With puffs, it instantly pierced through the 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures. Then, the world-cleansing fire burned in their bodies, and the large amount of spewing ominous mist was purified as soon as it dissipated. This move stunned everyone here. They knew that Han Fei was very strong, but this was the first time many people had witnessed him being so strong. Feng Yu looked at Han Fei in shock. Is this so casual? Lei Heng sighed. As expected of the only guy who has embarked on the supreme path in the past 2 eras. He's ridiculously strong. At this moment, the demon purification vine had already been pulled out of the bodies of the 3 of them, and the ominous matter had all been absorbed. And the ominous matter frozen in the void was also quickly absorbed by the demon purification vine. Immediately, countless strong masters here came back to their senses. Human Emperor is invincible. Human Emperor, let's kill a way out. Human Emperor, we are willing to fight side by side with you. Roar. It's time to counterattack. Everyone was excited. He could kill 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures. With a flip of his hand. How powerful was this? And these 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures could have killed all of them. Suddenly, Lei Hang's face changed. Little junior brother, go help senior brother Azure Dragon and 5th senior brother. Han Fei nodded slightly. No rush. Wait for me to break through this ominous tide. The ominous tide that was rushing over didn't expect Han Fei to appear. Even if they did, they wouldn't stop, because most of them had no consciousness and only knew how to charge. At this moment, the opening of the chaotic ice domain was densely packed with ominous creatures that were about to rush in. Like a black pillar of light, it shot through the chaotic ice domain from the shattered star sea. Han Fei raised his hand, and with a bang, another part of the chaotic ice domain shattered, stunning everyone. The cave that the ominous spent a lot of strength to drill out was even weaker than Han Fei's raise of his hand. Ka ka ka. Those extremely cold ice bodies were shattering, turning into thin cones. In the blink of an eye, they changed into billions. Swish. 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 Billions of ice cones were blooming with divine brilliance, surging up like a rain of light. The ferocious ominous tide was annihilating at a visible speed. In less than half a second, the ominous creatures in the extreme ice domain were wiped out, and the chaotic ice domain immediately began to repair itself. Swish. Swish. Han Fei teleported, and in the next moment, they appeared above the chaotic ice domain. Therefore, they saw the billions of ice cones shoot into the shattered star sea like a pillar of light. Wherever they passed, no ominous creatures could survive. The sea realm was only so big. The chaotic thunder domain naturally knew what happened in the chaotic ice domain. Sensing Han Fei's appearance, everyone was relieved. Senior brother Azure Dragon shouted, "Okay, everyone, hold on a little longer. We're about to win a big victory." Seeing Han Fei attack, the ancient dragon god immediately laughed. "We'll win. We'll definitely win this battle." Xia Xiaochan clutched her chest and felt relieved. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang both heaved a sigh of relief. Zhang Xuanyu said, "The ominous was so confident just now. I even suspected that Fei Fei had really fallen onto that path of no return." Lu Renquang said, "Me too. It said that there are 2 ominous existences above the Dominator level, but none of them appeared for many days in a row. I suspected that Fei Fei led one of them into the path of no return." Xia Xiaochan smiled and said, casually, "We grew up together anyway." "Do you have so little confidence in him?" Zhang Xuanyu curled his lips. "I wonder who has been on tenterhooks these past few days." Lu Renquang nodded. "Someone even asked us if we should go to the path of no return. TSK, tisk." Immediately, Xia Xiaochan blushed. "I didn't." Different from the reaction of the myriad races, the Dominator-level ominous creatures were all shocked. How can Han Fei return? Impossible. He had clearly fallen onto the path of no return. Chapter 3672, the 4th level of the Path of Invincibility, Mastering the Chaos, 2. Was our master deceived? What should we do now? Retreat. Retreat first. When our master returns, it won't be too late to destroy the myriad races. A Dominator-level ominous immediately retreated. However, a white stream of fire suddenly blotted out the sky and rolled over. At the same time, in the void, a hand appeared in the air. Disaster flowing fire. Swish. 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 Then, 9 balls of white fire instantly surrounded the fleeing Dominator. Ominous. As the flames rose, the Dominator Ominous had no chance to escape at all. It was covered by the white fire, burned, and purified into ashes in the blink of an eye. Is this the great Tao of white fire? It was once one of the strongest Taos in the Age of Gods. It was created by Nanfeng Liuxue. Someone quickly explained the origin of this fire. But then someone said, however, it said that Nanfeng Liuxue has embarked on the path of no return. At the same time, a broken broadsword, half of which was a broadsword and the other half a great Tao, slashed down. It was dazzling like a line in the sky. Impossible to dodge. Immediately afterward, a Dominator-level Ominous was cut in half by the broadsword. Before it could recover, the great Tao on the broadsword light burned and drowned the Dominator-level Ominous. He cut off vitality with one slash and severed the great Tao with another. Its broken blade, Lu Tian. This person was a peerless powerhouse from 30 million years ago. He was once known as the person most likely to suppress an era. Countless people saw a group of 8 people lined up, blocking the way of nearly 100 Dominator-level ominous creatures. Get lost. A Dominator-level ominous creature roared and turned into a boundless mist, as if it wanted to directly envelop the 8 people above. However, in the next second, the boundless mist was instantly cut into hundreds of thousands of pieces. When he looked again, the void was full of silver threads, which seemed to be sharp enough to cut everything. Li Yu, the Silk Lady, can control the heavenly Tao and all laws with the heavenly Silk Tao. She's also a super powerhouse who disappeared in the Age of Gods. Who are the remaining 5? No matter who it is, he seems to be very strong. The 8 of them attacked in unison. Each of them had cultivated bitterly on the dragon subduing island for thousands of years and mastered various origin laws. How could ordinary ominous creatures resist them? Swish. 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 Bang. 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 These 8 people were like 8 city walls, blocking the Dominator level Ominous that was trying to escape. Accompanied by Senior Brother Azure. Dragon's Dragon Roar, another battle broke out here. In the field, Lu Tian and the other 3 were fighting like crazy. The more they fought, the faster and fiercer they became. Someone laughed. Great! I haven't felt so good in a long time. Someone exclaimed, a long-awaited feeling, the long-lost myriad races. A woman said leisurely, okay, don't be pretentious. The other party is not weak. We might not be able to stop them. Someone smiled and said, what are you afraid of? With fellow Taoist human Emperor here, what's the big deal? Sure enough, as soon as they said so, in less than 3 seconds, Han Fei had arrived with Han Chani, Shiman Linglan, Lei Heng, and the others. When Lu Tian and the others saw Han Fei, they hurriedly said in unison, Greetings, human emperor. Seeing this, Senior Brother Azure Dragon and 5th Senior Brother seemed to understand something. 5th Senior Brother said, Little Junior Brother, be quick. Han Fei smiled and nodded. With his hands behind his back, he stepped to the side of a Dominator-level Ominous. The Dominator-level Ominous seemed to want to dodge, but he was stunned to find that he couldn't move at all. Han Fei just glanced at him and took the second step without attacking. disappearing in front of him. Although this Dominator-level ominous didn't know why Han Fei left again, it couldn't help but feel a little glad. Unfortunately, before it could be happy, its body shattered uncontrollably. Yes, he didn't see Han Fei attack, and the others, including the ancient dragon god, didn't see Han Fei attack. Only Lu Tian and the others looked yearning. Lu Tian said, "Wherever the human emperor is, all the Daos are shattered. As long as there is a Dao in the ominous body, it can be used by the human emperor. This realm is really fascinating." Nanfeng Liushua shook her head slightly. "It's too profound for you and me to understand now." Li Yu smiled. "It's useless to yearn for it. Let's be realistic. The Sea of Stars will definitely revive this time. We should have many interesting things to do." Hearing this, Lu Tian nodded quickly. Yes. While they were talking, Han Fei had already taken 13 steps in a row. With every step he took, a Dominator-level ominous creature died. This scene made many people stop fighting, because half of the Dominator-level ominous had already stopped fighting and gathered together. At this moment, when Han Fei walked to a Dominator-level ominous creature, this person took out half a bottle of ominous matter. However, as soon as this half bottle of ominous matter was released, it was absorbed by the demon purification pot that extended out from between Han Fei's eyebrows. Among the Dominator-level ominous creatures, the stronger ones shouted, "Everyone, charge out with me." However, this time, Han Fei finally raised his hand. With a flip of his hand, he turned into a great Dao palm and pressed down in the void, as if he had fused with the sky. Everyone felt that the world was about to collapse, and there was boundless divine might that seemed to be about to annihilate everything. As for the Dominator-level ominous creatures, their faces were filled with horror. They wanted to resist, but they discovered that their Dao had already collapsed. They couldn't even control the power of the laws here at all. Chapter 3673, the fourth level of the Path of Invincibility, Mastering the Chaos, 3. The moment the great Dao palm condensed by Han Fei crushed down, the bodies of nearly 50 ominous creatures disintegrated like rotten stars. Endless energy rushed in all directions, but no matter what, it couldn't exceed the range of Han Fei's palm. However, it could be imagined that none of these ominous creatures could escape. Nearly 50 ominous creatures couldn't even withstand the power of Han Fei's palm, which stunned countless people present. The ancient dragon god said in shock, "Above the Dominator realm, this is definitely the peerless power above the Dominator realm? Han Fei, what realm is this?" The ancient dragon god might be the one who had lived the longest and was the most shocked and excited among this group of people. No one in the myriad races had ever reached this realm. Similarly, among the myriad races, no one had ever been able to kill 50 Dominator-level ominous creatures with a single palm. Whether in the chaotic era or any other era, there was no such person. In the chaotic star sea, a peak-level Dominator only had 49 pieces of star river source power. How could he suppress nearly 50 Dominators at the same time? Therefore, there was only one answer, which was above the Dominator level. Above the Dominator level? Hiss. Is there really such a realm? Heavens, I've never heard of it since ancient times. Has the human emperor really reached this realm? Not far away, the corners of Shiman Linglan's mouth curled up slightly. This was her man. Han Chani looked at the magnificent figure and couldn't help but be shocked. She felt that this was the first time she had worshipped someone so much. Since she was young, she had been extremely talented. She had never met an opponent in the same realm as her. Even so, she was not proud, nor did she stop polishing herself, just so that one day she could catch up with Han Fei. However, at this moment, she discovered that there were some steps that she could only follow. There had never been anyone like Han Fei who had transcended the Dominator realm. Han Fei didn't hide it and said frankly, "This realm is called immortal." Immortal? The ancient dragon god's body trembled. In his life, he finally knew the realm above the Dominator realm. He was too excited. As for the remaining Dominator-level ominous creatures, they were already desperate. Perhaps, including Hongjuan's ominous body, no one would expect that Han Fei could return. Not only did he return, but he had also stepped into a higher realm. Han Fei attacked again. His palm glowed, and the law of life was flowing. The remaining peak-level Dominator's river of life appeared and was torn apart by Han Fei. Is this the immortal level? At this moment, everyone who could witness this battle was horrified. The enemy they fought with all their strength was like fish meat in front of Han Fei. A Dominator-level ominous knew that he would definitely die, so he roared. Han Fei, when our master returns, even if you surpass the Dominator level, you won't be a match for him. Humph. As Han Fei clenched his hand, the remaining Dominator-level ominous creatures all exploded. A battle that was almost impossible to win was turned into a victory because of the appearance of one person. Senior brother Azure Dragon hurriedly asked, "Little junior brother, where are senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead?" Han Fei was also a little worried. "They have fallen into the primordial star. See. When I solve the ominous powerhouses in the chaotic star sea, I will go there immediately." Han Chani asked. The ominous creatures said that they still have a master. "Is he very powerful? Are they in danger?" Han Fei smiled. "It doesn't matter. I can fight him." With that, Han Fei's figure flashed, crossed the chaotic thunder domain, and appeared outside the thunder domain. In the next moment, everyone saw a dazzling golden light burst out of his body. His invincible will turned into a tangible light, which was like a sword that broke through the void. Buzz. At that moment, billions of kilometers away, a huge eye slowly appeared. If one had to describe the size of this eye, it might be bigger than the sea realm. Hiss. What is this? Ominous? Countless people were shocked. Such a big thing was only an eye? Then how big was the entire body? This time, all the strong masters of the myriad races, the undead who were fighting in the shattered star sea, and the death god who was fighting in ominous peak-level Dominator all saw this magical scene. While countless people were horrified, fifth senior brother finally said, "Everyone, calm down. If I'm not wrong, this should be the Eye of Heavenly Tao." Eye of Heavenly Tao? What is that? I've only heard of the Heavenly Tao Dharma Eye, but I've never heard of the Heavenly Tao Eye. Are the two the same? The ancient dragon god said leisurely, "The rumors are actually true. The Heavenly Tao has eyes, representing the Heavenly Tao of the entire sea of stars, and the Heavenly Tao Dharma Eye is just a wisp of its law." Senior brother Azure Dragon asked, "What is little junior brother going to do?" Fifth senior brother shook his head slightly. Han Fei had reached the untouchable level above the Dominator level. Therefore, they didn't understand what Han Fei was going to do at all. At this moment, between Han Fei's eyebrows, the invincible eye opened, and a golden pillar of light shot out of his eyes at the heavenly Tao eye. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Han Fei stepped forward and slowly said, "By obtaining the myriad Taos of the heavens and controlling the great trends of the world, one can control the chaos and enter the fourth level of the path of invincibility." Buzz. The golden pillar of light that spewed out of Han Fei's eyes fell on the heavenly Tao eye and quickly spread out, gradually covering the entire heavenly Tao eye until the latter turned dazzling golden. Then, the eye of heavenly Tao began to shrink and finally reflected in Han Fei's eyes. But in everyone's eyes, it was as if Han Fei had swallowed the eye of heavenly Tao. Chapter 3674, The Fourth Level of the Path of Invincibility, Mastering the Chaos, 4. For a moment, no one knew what to think of Han Fei. Was Han Fei still a human? In fact, after Han Fei reached the immortal level and completed the Tao that the heavenly Tao missed, he knew how to control the sea of stars, and once he controlled the sea of stars, he would definitely succeed on the path of invincibility. At this moment, Han Fei was just going through the process. He wanted to directly open the origin of chaos, but the eye of heavenly Tao appeared on its own. And the eye of heavenly Tao represented the heavenly Tao of the chaotic star sea. By controlling the eye of heavenly Tao, he controlled the chaos. However, completing the path of invincibility still didn't increase Han Fei's strength. However, this meant that Han Fei was already invincible in the chaotic star sea. As long as it was in the chaotic star sea, Han Fei could represent the sea of stars itself. No matter who came from the outside world and how strong they were, they couldn't kill Han Fei in the chaotic star sea. Of course, if this person could destroy the chaotic star sea with a flip of his hand, it would be a different story. This process was very fast. After about half an hour, Han Fei completed this breakthrough on the path of invincibility. After all, this was just a matter of time. On Han Fei's forehead, the invincible eye that used to represent the path of invincibility had already changed. Now, in his third eye, there seemed to be billions of rivers of stars flowing, deep and unfathomable. It was as if Han Fei had embedded an eye of heavenly Tao in his eyes. At this moment, the chaotic star sea was still controlled by the rules of the heavenly Tao, but Han Fei controlled the eye of the heavenly Tao, which meant that as long as he wanted, he could also control the rules of the heavenly Tao. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. With a thought, 2 pearls of the divine realm appeared in his hand. They were the pearls of control of the chaotic ice domain and the chaotic thunder domain. He said indifferently, the guardian divine realm is no longer needed. Then, Han Fei used the power of the heavenly Tao without hesitation. In the next moment, the rules of the heavenly Tao in the chaotic star sea seemed to have changed a little. Immediately afterward, Han Fei's voice sounded in the shattered star sea, the outer domain battlefield, and the entire sea realm. I am human Emperor Han Fei. I command the heavenly Tao, rule the myriad worlds, purify the law, and dispel the ominous mist. From today on, there will be no ominousness in the chaotic star sea. Buzz. As soon as Han Fei finished speaking, the entire sea of stars, the vast star domain, and the billions of star rivers were enshrouded in rays of light. 10,000 Taos vibrated, and the light of law spread out across the entire sea of stars. Rumble. Everyone saw with their own eyes that the vast sea of stars that was originally calm, began to tremble. Lightning, light, divine brilliance, extreme cold, divine fire. Countless powers bloomed among the endless stars. In this star river, the ominous mist gathered the most. There were the most ominous creatures, so the great Tao baptized it the most crazily. Sea realm, free city. As soon as Han Fei said so, many humans in the city walked out of the sealed barrier and looked up at the sky, trying to see something. What about the human emperor? I can't see anything. Of course. How far can your eyes see? How is it possible for you to see the human emperor? A strong master from another race shouted, "What are you doing? Hurry up and enter the barrier. Any power that dissipates from the sky can crush you." Humph. A human elder sneered. What do you know? The human emperor has already returned. What are we afraid of? You old idiot, I know you humans worship the human emperor, but no matter how strong the human emperor is, how can he defeat the ominous alone? However, the old man's expression changed drastically. He raised his walking stick and pointed it at the powerhouse, shouting, "Hey, what are you talking about? He can command the myriad worlds and disperse the ominous." The human emperor said it himself. How can it be fake? That's right. Which race are you from? How dare you doubt what the human emperor said? Hey, I can understand that you're insensible. If you dare to say it again. Although I'm weak, as long as I call out, a lot of whom a powerhouses can hammer you to death. The strong master of another race shook his head and thought to himself, I'm too lazy to argue with these stupid people. If you don't want your lives, so be it. I shouldn't have wasted my kindness on you. Suddenly, someone pointed at the sky and said, Look, it's stars. Stars all over the sky. Really? The sky has been sealed by the so-called ice domain sea of fire until now. I haven't seen a star in a long time. Let me take a look. Huh, really? Ha ha ha, human emperor didn't lie to me. The ice domain is gone. Wow, look, there are flames burning in the stars. Someone didn't believe him. Keep bragging. Do you know how far away that star is from you? There's still AF** king fire burning. Why don't you say that? There are lightning bolts between the stars? The man said angrily, Why not? Look, if you F** king dare to come out to take a look, isn't that lightning? That's bulls** it. If there isn't lightning, I won't return the spiritual stones I owe you. F***ck. Is there really lightning among the stars? In just a moment, the streets of the free city were overcrowded. Someone roared hysterically, The savior of the world is only the emperor of our human race. Someone laughed. I knew that human emperor would return whenever there was a crisis. Human emperor, human emperor, human emperor. Instantly, the voices in the free city rose and fell like a tide. The shattered star sea. A large number of undead were still fighting. Someone laughed. Brother, I'll die first. Someone greeted him with a smile. Brother, you die first. I'll follow. However, the moment the undead released all the death energy and self-destructed, with a bang, a thunderball the size of a head suddenly descended, purifying the ominous creatures fighting him. The undead could feel that even if he touched the thunderball, he would disappear on the spot. Swish. 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 However, the thunderball didn't touch him. Instead, it jumped around in the shattered star sea. Every time it jumped, an ominous creature was purified. F***ck, what is this? The other undead pointed at the sky. Brother, you. Look. The two of them looked up, only to see aurora flashing in the ominous mist and Laws enshrouded. The ominous mist that they couldn't see through at first was actually turning incorporeal and turning white. Tweet. A group of fire phoenixes, like a swarm of bees, swept inside and outside the ominous mist. An inexplicable rhythm came from the distant sky, and the sound waves rolled. Wherever the sound waves passed, the ominous disappeared. There was even an inexplicable wind blowing in the sea of stars, which carried divine brilliance. No one knew where it came from, but wherever the wind passed, the ominous was annihilated. Such scenes were everywhere in the shattered star sea. In short, at this moment, countless laws were blooming, giving birth to a light of purification. In the vast sea of stars, countless places covered by the ominous mist began to gradually reveal light. The Death God and the peak-level Dominator-level Ominous who were fighting outside this star river had both stopped. The Death God felt everything he could feel in shock. He felt that the great Tao and laws of the entire sea of stars seemed to be rioting. The place he was fighting was already covered by the ominous mist. Although the fight between him and the Dominator-level Ominous had almost destroyed this place, it still couldn't avoid the erosion of the ominous mist. But at this moment, all the laws in this star river were blooming with the power to disperse the ominous. The peak-level Dominator-level Ominous said with a trembling voice. Impossible. The heavenly Tao is unconscious. How can it struggle? The heavenly Tao won't struggle, but humans will. At that moment, a time river flowed past here, and Han Fei's figure walked out of the time river. Obviously, this was just one of Han Fei's old bodies. The Death God's pupils were constricted. You've returned? That's impossible. I saw you fall into this path of no return with my own eyes. How can you return? The peak-level Dominator-level Ominous looked horrified. Han Fei sneered. I don't care if you believe it or not. I'm just here to send you to hell. Han Fei flicked his finger, and a knife light appeared. A terrifying and vast aura dissipated from the knife light and crossed half of the star river in the blink of an eye. Kill. Puff. A peak-level Dominator still lacked one Tao. Even if he used all his strength, how could he be a match for Han Fei? When the Dominator-level Ominous creature found that all the Tao techniques here couldn't be used, Han Fei extended his hand into the void and directly cut off the other party's long river of life. Impossible, what kind of power is this? Why are my Tao smelting? Roar. The Death God looked at Han Fei leisurely. The peak-level Dominator-level Ominous that he had been fighting fiercely for days couldn't even last 2 or 3 rounds in Han Fei's hands? The Death God said leisurely, above the Dominator level. After Han Fei was trapped on the path of no return, the first thing Shen Lu did was to tell the disciples of the Void Temple about the path above the Dominator realm, and then to the Death God and the Master of Time. Now, Shen Lu and the undead had disappeared, Han Fei had returned from the path of return, and then such a law abnormality erupted in the sea of stars. The Death God naturally guessed that Han Fei had made a breakthrough. Although it was very fast, the Death God wasn't surprised to be able to find the path above the Dominator realm was already something that no one in history could do. Besides, Han Fei had the high hopes of many people. The Death God said, Shen Lu, undead, and I fought Hongjuan's ominous body for 2 days. Time couldn't resist the siege of peak-level dominators and the dominators of the ominous. In the end, I replaced him to protect the sea realm. But in just half a day, they disappeared without a trace. Perhaps they had fallen into the so-called primordial sea. Hanfei nodded. I know. I'll go there immediately after I solve the remaining Dominator-level ominous. With that, Hanfei's old body entered time again and disappeared. The law riot in the chaotic Star Sea could almost kill 99% of the ominous creatures. However, a small number of god-slaying level ominous creatures and the remaining nearly 200 Dominator-level ominous creatures could escape. This was because the sea-quelling god could control a star river, so the ominous that could reach the strength of the sea-quelling god could withstand the spontaneous power of laws in the chaotic Star Sea, not to mention the Dominator-level ominous. After half an hour, Hanfei, who had just flattened the Dominator ominous in the chaotic Star Sea, had already come to the end of the mud sea and stood in front of the passage between the two worlds that separated primordial chaos and chaos. Hanfei looked at the door and could feel that the heavenly Tao of the chaotic Star Sea was blocking this channel that connected to the outer domain. This was the fastest and safest way for Hanfei to go to the primordial Star Sea. Although there was another channel connecting the chaotic Star Sea to the primordial Star Sea, that channel had long been controlled by Hongjuan's ominous body. Although he had broken through to the immortal level, if Hongjuan's ominous body had already controlled the primordial Star Sea, it might be able to cause a devastating blow to him. But the passage between the two worlds was different. He could advance, attack, or retreat. If the primordial Star Sea had already fallen, he would have to fight Hongjuan's ominous body. If he couldn't win, he could retreat to the chaotic Star Sea. With his current control of the chaotic Star Sea, even if the ominous reached a higher level, it was impossible for the ominous to defeat him in the chaotic Star Sea. A day and a half. I hope senior sister Shenlu and senior brother Undead can hold on. Hanfei didn't know what was going on the other side of the door. A day and a half was enough for him to do many things. For example, less than an hour after he returned to the sea realm, he had not only swept through all the Dominator-level ominous creatures, but also broken through to the 4th level of the path of invincibility. Similarly, once Hongjuan's ominous body killed his way into the creation jade plate, he might be able to subdue the primordial Star Sea in less than an hour. In any case, this battle has finally come. Buzz. Hanfei pushed open the gate of two worlds without hesitation. When he pushed the door open, he discovered that the power needed to open the door was above 30 pieces of Star River source power, and it required the blood of 6 lineages to open it. Ka ka ka. Hanfei's qi and blood surged into the sky and covered the entire door. With cracking sounds, the door was finally slowly pushed open. When the door was pushed open a crack, what came at him was not the ominous mist, which made Hanfei heave a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't the ominous mist, it was fine. This meant that the Guardian Divine Realm hadn't fallen yet. Perhaps it was indeed because Hongjuan's ominous body hadn't returned for long and there were Shenlu, the undead, and time keeping him in check that he couldn't attack the Guardian Divine Realm. Buzz. When Hanfei walked out of the white halo, he saw the figures of the heavenly Monarch, Supreme Tao Monarch, and 9 Heavens Mystic Fairy rushing over. At this moment, the 3 of them looked nervous as if they were facing a great enemy. There were more than 100 weapons floating around them. However, when they saw that it was Han Fei, they were overjoyed and quickly put away their weapons. Immediately, the heavenly monarch cupped his hands. Greetings, human emperor. The supreme Tao ancestor and the 9 heavens mystic fairy also hurriedly bowed. Greetings, human emperor. Although the heavenly monarch ruled the 3,000-star river, he still knew his limits. Han Fei was much stronger than him. Besides, the strength of the other 2 people was not something he could compare to. You're actually back. Immediately afterward, Hongjuan's voice sounded in Han Fei's heart, seeming a little stunned. Han Fei didn't respond to the heavenly monarch and the other 2. He first scanned around with his perception and didn't find Shenlu or senior brother undead. However, he found that there were only more than 1,200 pieces of the Star River controlled by the creation jade plate, more than half less than when he left a few days ago. He knew that something must have happened to the Guardian Divine Realm. Otherwise, it was impossible for the control range of the creation jade plate to decrease so much in just a few days. Han Fei looked up at the sky. Well, you can only return after you've comprehended a lot on that path. However, thank you for your divine vine. Where are Shenlu and undead? The heavenly monarch was puzzled. Fellow Taoist Shenlu and fellow Taoist undead.